go on a Tuesday. Happiness is a choice. Thank you for choosing us, along with Taman Turner, who's in again today for James Westling. I am Ari Temkin. James is back tomorrow. But until then, we've got Taman riding shotgun with us here on Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. A lot to get to today here on a busy Tuesday. Still recapping Week 9, looking ahead to Week 10. The college football season pretty wild. Want to get into Brian Kelly's firing and more big picture on coaches being fired in a moment, but an 18-inning baseball game last night.
Yeah, led by a Freddie Freeman walk-off.
You know, they say one man's trash is another man's treasure. I'd say an 18-inning baseball game is trash,
yes,
and I'm sure others might call it treasure. It's basically 2 games. I'm really good at math. 18 divided by 9 is 2, so it's 2 baseball games.
You know, one man's trash. I'm sure our fellow coworker, our fellow manager, Edgar Preciado, who's a huge Dodgers fan, was thinking it was treasure last night.
Yeah, maybe based on the outcome. I find it funny, and I'll talk directly to Edgar right now or any Dodgers fans. Like, to me, there's no drama here. I find it funny that, like, you see these Dodger fans on social media posting about their team winning, and it's like, they should be winning. Like this, they're unfair. This reminds me of the Dream Team playing Latvia. Like
Latvia. What did the Latvians do?
Nothing. And the Blue Jays haven't done anything. But like the Dodgers are just unfair.
Yeah,
like
I mean, they're the Yankees of the late '90s.
Not even that. They're not even paying their best player. Their best player is making deferred money and just making ridiculous money through endorsements. But, like, that's how unfair they're. Like, Freddie Freeman hit a walk-off home run. He's, like, their third best hitter. It's insane.
He's won a World Series MVP on a different team, and they have him.
It's a joke. So, like, there's no drama. Like, you should be winning. The fact that the Dodgers have even lost a game in this series is kind of absurd.
I mean, give some love to Canada, the Blue Jays. I mean, they won. The series isn't over yet.
Oh, it's over.
Give them a little love.
The series was over as soon as the playoffs started.
Playoffs? No, sorry. I just have to throw that in there. I mean, look, the Dodgers will very likely win the World Series, but I just say, I mean, underdogs happen. You never know. Something could go wrong. I don't believe anything I'm saying, but it could happen.
Yeah. So an 18-inning baseball game last night. The Dodgers are now up 2-1 on the Blue Jays in the all-important Game 3. And my assumption is they'll take it in 5 or 6, but if it went to 7, it'd be quite a miracle.
I'm going to go with 5. The Dodgers haven't since they've had this great kind of era. You know, they won the World Series in 2020 when it was here during the COVID year. They won last year. I think the Dodgers are going to win one at home, and that crowd will never, ever be quiet about it.
All right. Let's talk coaches, shall we?
Sure.
And Brian Kelly became the 9th coach at the FBS to be fired mid-season. According to ChatGPT, it took a lot of different prompts, but 12 coaches at the FBS level were fired mid-season in 2021. But from what I could tell, only 4 of those were at the Power 4 level or Power 5 level. I guess at that point it would have been 5 because Nick Rolovich was fired at Washington State in 2021. So 9 still pales in comparison to 12, but you have a much larger amount of Power 4 programs that have fired their coach mid-season here. Here's the crazy part. In 2021, by October 27th, so basically exactly 4 years ago, 5 FBS coaches had already been fired, more than the previous 4 seasons combined. So it feels like, and it is, and just doesn't feel like it, that we have reached a point in time that is unprecedented in terms of coaching in college football. That is not hyperbole at all. Like, this is unprecedented. By October 27th, 2021, 5 FBS coaches had been fired, which was more than any of the previous 4 seasons combined at that point in the calendar year. So now we're at 9. 9 by October 27th, the same day. I mean, I know today's the 28th, but Kelly was fired on the 26th. So,
point taken. I mean, look, this was a firing. It's a $53.8 million buyout. Like you mentioned, this is the wildest since the 2021 cycle. When Brian Kelly was when he was hired to be the LSU head coach, it was a flashy hire. It was a bold move. It was to bring LSU back to title contention. But are the standards at LSU unreasonable? Are you, if you don't win a title, is it just a spot that's an occupied rent space, or is it, what is the standard now at LSU? What is the standard now in coaching in college football?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily an LSU standard, but it is to a degree. But yeah, I think it's way more about the standard of coaching now and what is acceptable. You I think you live in a world where you sort of evaluate the context around you, meaning, in 2020 or 2019, coaches weren't fired midseason. They were given full seasons to see the full breadth of their work. And in 2021, with the institution of the college football playoff, all bets were off. And I don't think that this is entirely the case in 21 when you look at the coaches that were fired in that year. But when I look at it in 2025, I think a lot of it has to do with, unreasonable expectations based on the transfer portal and NIL, coupled with expectations for the playoff. I don't want to beat a dead horse in terms of this point, but it used to be that you'd wait to see what a coach did in a season before you fired them, because beating your rival, getting to a bowl game, winning double-digit games, getting to a big bowl, these used to be things that matter to programs and matter to coaches, and now it doesn't. LSU is out of the quote-unquote playoff picture now because they don't have a chance for an SEC championship and will not get an at-large bid, and so therefore there's no reason to have Brian Kelly around anymore.
All right, we live in a fast-paced society, and that is so evident in sport, especially in college football. You just mentioned many different things. You mentioned the transfer portal. You mentioned NIL. When you're not winning right away, you mentioned the college playoff. When you're not winning right away, everything's up in the air. All of the successes that you have don't matter. If you're not eligible to make the college playoffs, your job's in jeopardy. And I think we're living in a time now where schools are still trying to see the path forward with that. This is new. You mentioned 2019. You mentioned 2021. Here we are in 2025. All the coaching changes, everything that has been implemented and is new in college football. And I think schools are still responding or learning how to respond to that.
Yeah, they're just throwing money at the problem. So that's the other part to this. So $170 million has been committed to buyouts and FBS coaches, and we're not even to November yet.
Do you think LSU truly regrets giving Brian Kelly a contract? That contract? Now he's gone, and they're still paying him.
Yeah,
a lot of money.
Well, and the same guy, Scott Woodward, that handed Jimbo Fisher the largest buyout in the history of college football, also did the same to Brian Kelly. I mean, I'm sure there's a level of regret, but it doesn't seem to be manifesting itself in the way that contracts are being handed out.
$76.8 million for Jimbo Fisher. That's wild.
Yeah, and so I mean, $170 million in buyout money handed out to FBS coaches. $170 million, $167.9 million is being paid right now to FBS coaches to not coach their teams. I am there's nothing more fatiguing than hearing administrators complain about having to pay players when they have plenty of dead money to go around. I mean, you continue to hear coaches, administrators complain about having to pay players and how much money it costs and all of the revenue shortfalls, and yet you look up and we're talking about $170 million in money being spent for coaches not to coach at your school. Like, there is zero level of fiscal responsibility, and yet they want us to believe that the issue here is paying the players. No. The players we're talking about what's Brian Kelly's buyout, Taman? $60 million?
Yeah, $53.8 million.
Do you know how many players? I mean, an entire athletic department should be funded by, is it $25 million in revenue sharing? That is less than half of the total of Brian Kelly being paid for a buyout, and people are complaining about paying players. Are you kidding me? And it's not just Brian Kelly. It's not just Jimbo Fisher. It's not just James Franklin. It's not. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of these horrible one-sided contracts for coaches that they continue to get and continue to command huge dollars in the buyout market. We have conferences and schools talking about private equity money because they're having revenue shortfalls in the midst of paying coaches upwards of 60, 70, 80, 90 million to not coach. That's insane. Right now, the average is close to 70 million per year in buyout language. Average.
That's insane.
And people are complaining about paying the players.
You know what? I'm going to very slightly, and hear me out, defend those people. I don't think they really understand how much these coaches are getting paid. I don't think they're caring about that. I think they're focusing. I agree with you. I agree with everything.
You're talking about fans or administrators?
More so fans.
Yeah.
Administrators.
But I'm talking about the administrators.
Administrators are in no position to talk about what the players get paid.
Yeah, but
doing that.
But they are. And that's my point here. Is it's frustrating to hear them complain about the state of college athletics. Oh, and it's the Wild West, and it's like maybe it needs to be. Maybe there needs to be a level of accountability here for administrators that keep handing out these bad deals. Brian Kelly, $54 million in buyout money. James Franklin, $49 million in buyout money. Bailey Napier, $21 million. Oklahoma Mike Gundy, $15 million. Sam Pittman, $10 million. Deshaun Foster, $6.2 million. Brent Pry, $6 million. Trent Braid, Oregon State, $4 million.
It's hypocritical.
Trent Dilfer, $2.4 million. At University of Alabama, Birmingham. I can't imagine UAB has more than $2.4 million tied up to their roster of players, and they're paying Trent Dilfer $2.4 to not coach. Jay Norvell, $1.5 million. So that's your $169.7 million that we're talking about here. That is.
Your point is taken. I mean, for administrators to talk about that, it's completely hypocritical. 100%.
Well, and at the same time, they hand out these contracts with these buyouts that are absurd. Like, this isn't – it's not going the other direction.
Right.
And I don't know how – I mean, part of that I'm sure is leverage. When you're hiring a coach and you really want to hire that coach, you've got leverage. I would submit that, you should probably go about negotiating deals with coaches in a different light, in a different way. I mean, these are still very sought-after jobs, especially at the Power 4 level. So, like, the idea there that you have to, pour all this buyout money, we'll pay, the remaining time of your contract, and we're going to give you a 15-year contract, like, you just can't do business like that anymore. And if you say to a coach or an agent, we're going to give you a 5-year deal, and they say that's not long enough, you say, sorry, I want to see if this works, and then we'll give you an extension. And I'm not giving you an extension after one season. The other part to this is the SEC in particular. When I went back and looked, there are only 3 coaches currently in the SEC that were hired on or before 2020. It's 5 years ago. Kirby Smart, Eli Drinkwitz, and Lane Kiffin. All were hired by 2020 or before. That's it. Out of 16 teams in the SEC, 13 of their coaches have been hired since 2021. Just comparatively in the Big 12, 5 coaches have been hired before 2020 that are still coaching. Gundy would have been 6, but obviously he's not still coaching.
Sure.
So just shows you that I used to believe that this was the Nick Saban effect, that Saban won at such a high level and the expectations were so high for everybody else in the SEC that SEC coaches kept hiring and firing, kept getting hired and fired into oblivion. And I think what the Nick Saban effect became is the college football playoff effect. I just don't like. I think there are unrealistic expectations because of what like a Kurt Signetti is doing, because of the transfer portal and NIL. I think there's some unrealistic expectations of how quickly things can be turned around or how quickly you can be competing. And I'm not talking about this specific to Brian Kelly and LSU, because I think the outcome for Brian Kelly and LSU is actually fair. What I'm arguing against is the buyout money they're having to pay him now. One, how did he have all the leverage in being hired by LSU? I guess he was a sitting head coach at Notre Dame, but still, if you want the job, then you got to be willing to do what it takes to get it. And I'm not paying that kind of a buyout, but obviously Scott Woodward is. Scott Woodward is the type of guy that goes to a steakhouse, orders the biggest steak they have, and then eats like 2 bites of it. Like, he's got big eyes and wants the biggest splash, but when the bills are ready to pay,
he's not paying it.
He's like, oh, I don't know who decided on this. Bought that?
Let's split it.
Who bought that bone-in, dry-aged T-bone? Well, why would you spend $200 on a steak?
Yeah, that's hysterical. I mean, listen, I think all the points that you brought up are I think multiple things can be true at once. You brought up the Nick Saban effect. You brought up the college football effect, playoff effect. You brought up the NIL. You brought up the transfer. I mean, all of these are a factor. But to your point, nobody should be getting upset at players getting paid when you have $170 million in buyout money. It's not fair. It's not cool. And, these guys have to own that.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately the takeaway here should be, I just don't understand why administrators continue to pour out these ridiculous buyouts. Stop including them in your deals, because it just continues to perpetuate itself, and it's only going higher and higher and higher. And in a world where you're strapped for cash, and all you're doing is complaining about how strapped for cash you are because you're having to pay the players, you don't have the money, nor should you, to be paying $40, $50, $60, $70, $80 million for a coach to not be coaching at your school. Period. End of story. And I think the college football playoff effect is real. As soon as you are, quote unquote, eliminated from the playoff race, there's no reason to have your coach. Your coach is going to get fired. That's part of the new era of college football that we're in, and it is an unprecedented time. 2021 saw 12 coaches fired mid-season before October 27th, and 5 of those at the time were Power 5 coaches. Today, we've seen 9 coaches fired, and how many at the Power 4 level? Brent Pry at Virginia Tech, Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State, Foster at UCLA. That's 3. Brian Kelly, James Franklin, that's 5. So out of the 9, 5, are we missing anybody?
Billy Napier.
6. 6 of the 9 that have been fired are from the Power 4 level. So in 2021, when 12 coaches were fired mid-season and 9 of those occurred before October 27th, we're at a point in time now where the same amount have been fired but more Power 4. So it's only going more and more in that direction where coaches were fired mid-season. Before 2021, it rarely happened. Now it's happening all the time. Why? Well, the buyouts apparently are not enough of a deterrence to not fire these guys, 1, and 2, because as soon as they're knocked out of the playoff race, it's over. They have no reason to have their coach still there. Whereas in 2018, 2017, if you won 10 games, you got to a big bowl game, that meant a lot.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't.
Now it's pointless.
Yeah.
It's useless.
It's useless. All right, this is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo and heard on TuneIn as well as watched on Big 12 Studios. On the way next, we get into the offensive, defensive, special teams players of the week and a new freshman of the week. What's this? The Bear Bachmeier Award has been handed to somebody else this week?
Dun, dun, dun.
Shocking. All right, along with Taman Turner, our Big 12 Today producer, who's in today for James, I'm Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12. This is Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. Do I see James Westling hanging out in our YouTube comments there?
Who's James Westling?
Good question.
Yeah, who's that
He used
guy?
to be associated with this show.
Ugh.
He'll be back tomorrow. He's out with his friends in Connecticut or something. I don't know.
No, he's too good for us.
Yeah, but James and James are getting after it in the comments right now on YouTube, and you can join them there on YouTube as a part of Big 12 Studios. Just search Big 12 Conference. You can also get Big 12 Studios on Tubi, Roku, Samsung TV Plus, Amazon Prime Video, and plenty of other platforms. Just search Big 12 Studios and find us there. And, of course, you can always find us old reliable. TuneIn. Just download the TuneIn app and check us out there for free each and every day from 7 to 10 a.m. Central, 8 to 11 Eastern Time. I always have friends like, oh, how do I get it? It's like, yeah, just download the app, and there we are. It's like, do I have to pay for a member? No, you don't have to pay for anything. You just, voila, boom. Super easy and effective. And then once you get in, you'll find out all the amazing content and great music and everything else that is a part of TuneIn that you can get. We are presented by Modelo here on Big 12 Radio. All right. Every Tuesday, we always go through the Big 12 Weekly Awards, and the Week 9 honorees are as follows. Well, the Offensive Player of the Week is Bird Ficklin, the Utah quarterback, who shares it with Connor Wegman, the quarterback from Houston. Interesting for Ficklin to get it as a true freshman making his first start relative to Bear Bachmeier. I believe my Player of the Week this week was Bear Bachmeier, yes? No, was it Sorsby or Bachmeier? No, I can't remember.
It was Bear Bachmeier.
Thank you. It was Bear Bachmeier. But certainly could have given it to Wigman. I mean, I think Ficklin, given his first start as a true freshman, sure, with 3 rushing touchdowns, that's a big one. But I probably would have given Bear Bachmeier the Offensive Player of the Week and Bird Ficklin the Freshman of the Week, but I digress. Defensive Player of the Week, Faletau Satuala, the safety from BYU, who had a pick 6 in this game. And then Eddie Walls from Houston is a part of that dominant defensive front for Houston, led by Carlos Rogers and Eddie Walls as well. So big-time performances by both of those guys. And BYU's defense just continues to absolutely feast. Special Teams Player of the Week is Nate McCashlin, the TCU kicker. The new kicker who cashed it in for TCU, and then Jacoby Williams, the returner for Texas Tech, who didn't need any tortillas, but housed the opening kickoff for a touchdown against Oklahoma State. I mean, Oklahoma State is so dreadful. Texas Tech took the opening kickoff back for a touchdown, blocked their punt after a 3-and-out, and then went up for a quick score with Jacoby Williams. It was Jacoby Williams 14 and Oklahoma State 0 with about 15 minutes to go in the first quarter in that one. The Freshman of the Week is Bird Ficklin, the quarterback for Utah. This has been an award that we've joked about all year, has been renamed the Bear Bachmeier Award since he's won it basically every week. So it was good to see another name up there other than Bear Bachmeier. And a traditional number at number 15 as opposed to the 47 we say with Bear. But Bird Ficklin was tossed in the starting lineup here in a game against Colorado where you think, oh, this could go south. And it did not. Spoiler alert. They were up 43-0 at halftime and go on to cruise to the victory, 53-7. And Ficklin went 10 of 22, throwing the football, 140 yards, but added 151 rushing yards and 3 total touchdowns. Utah had 422 yards on the ground and 587 total yards of offense. So they did whatever they wanted to do, especially on the ground. And this was the most rushing yards by a Utah quarterback in 3 decades. How about that? Thanks to Anthony Smith, our producer with Big 12 Studios, for giving us that nugget. So we've known Utah to have some running quarterbacks, but nothing to the tune of what Bird Ficklin ran for in their win over Colorado.
I mean, good for Bird Ficklin. I mean, Devin Dampier's hurt. Bird Ficklin comes in. Nobody really knows what to expect. And he balled out. I mean, he ran for 151 yards. He threw for $140 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, give the guy his props. His first start. Listen, we all know that Utah's more talented than Colorado. But when you do something that you're not expecting and then you exceed that expectation, kudos to Bird Ficklin.
Well, and I'm not even sure that Utah is more talented than Colorado. I mean, Colorado has a lot of talent. Like they have a lot of 4 and 5 star recruits. They've got a decent amount of NIL like transfer portal hauls. Like we'd assume by the score that Utah's the better team. Whether or not they have more talent, I think that I'm not sure about that. But that just shows just how good they are. Utah is, and maybe that makes them the one of the best teams in the Big 12, and we'll get into that later. In terms of which Big 12 2-loss teams still have a shot to make the Big 12 championship game and who has the best shot at it. But Bear Bachmeier, 22 of 35, 307, and 2 touchdowns in his game. He also added 49 yards and a touchdown on the ground, so he had 3 total touchdowns. Was not either the Offensive Player of the Week or the Freshman of the Week. That instead went to Bert Ficklin, so congratulations to him. Because I made the joke with my buddy Sean O'Connell on the Sean O'Connell show yesterday in Salt Lake City that I almost wonder if Kyle Whittingham's trolling us, seeing that BYU has this true freshman quarterback that's putting up these gaudy numbers and big-time stats. Like, is Dampier really hurt, or did Kyle Whittingham just say, I want my own true freshman to outplay our rival now in BYU?
Anything and of course, you can do, I can do better.
Yeah, and of course Dampier is actually really hurt. It's a joke, folks, but yeah. I wouldn't put past Kyle Whittingham to do that.
Again, anything you can do, I can do better. I mean, listen. I don't think either of us are here to say that Bert Ficklin is better than Bear Bachmeier, but we're just giving props and credit where credit is due.
Yeah, no doubt about it, and just shows. Last year, and really the last couple of years, Utah has had significant quarterback injuries that they have not been able to overcome. And, credit their offensive line. Let's start there, because it doesn't really matter who it is. When you've got the offensive line that they have just mauling folks, you're able to run for 422 yards in a game. And so it doesn't matter, whereas last year and the last couple of years when their offense has really tanked without a quarterback, it seemed like it was because I don't know if they couldn't block as well. They couldn't run the ball as effectively, and so it put their quarterback in compromising situations where he had to throw the ball and he was not able to consistently win down the field. But in a situation like this with Ficklin, where it's like, see hole, run through it, give ball to running back, see hole, run through it, pretty easy to play quarterback within the scope of that offense. Now we'll see if it sticks. And again, I think the same issue remains for Utah, whether it's Ficklin or Dampier. And maybe with Ficklin, there's a little bit more upside because we just haven't seen it. He's a true freshman. But with Dampier, when you force him to have to consistently make throws and plays down the field with his arm, he's shown that he's, not able to consistently do that. And if he does, he's going to turn the ball over and not be as effective. He needs short, intermediate throws that are complemented by his ability to run and make plays off schedule. That's his bread and butter, and he's been effective at that. And there's no arguing with what Utah's done this year, especially in terms of their ground game. I think they're number 1 in the Big 12 in their rushing attack. And there's no arguing with that. It's effective, and they know what they are, and they're dominant on their offensive and defensive lines.
Yeah, Utah's O-line is really, really good. Just looking at what they did the other day, they only allowed 1 sack, and it eclipsed for 500 yards of offense for the 4th time this season. Think about that. 4 times this season, 500-plus yards, and they've only given up 1 sack. That's insane if you think about it. Utah. You mentioned the difference between Devin Dampier and Bert Ficklin. We'll find out more about Bert Ficklin and what he's really made of. But what you saw the other night against Colorado. Let's just say nobody's complaining.
Yeah. All right. I wanted to talk briefly about a topic that we've discussed on this show pertaining to the 2025 season, and that is from a Stuart Mandel tweet. Stuart Mandel from The Athletic. Yeah, I think he's still with The Athletic. He tweets, this was during the games on Saturday. He tweets, the parity in the SEC this year is real. Average margin in the first 5 games today is 7.6. SEC fans will say that shows how tough it is. Non-SEC fans will say it shows how the league is not as good as it used to be. Both things can be true, which is like a classic fence-sitting take there from Stuart Mandel. Well, which one is it, Stu? You're saying the SEC is both tough and not as good as it used to be? What? I think if you're a league of parity, it's assumed the league is tough. Right? I mean, that is sort of an assumption.
Very
So
true.
what he's saying is the SEC is not as good as it used to be, which, by the way, is also obvious. They've have not won a national championship the last 2 seasons, and they'd won 6 consecutive or whatever it was.
Right.
They'd rattled off multiple consecutive national titles, and so the fact that they've now lost 2 straight and haven't won 2 straight shows that they are not as good as they used to be. It's just funny to frame it in this scope, and I think it's important to understand the narratives the media forms. And when we talk a lot about how big the SEC is and how much love the SEC gets and the Big Ten relative to the Big 12, we talk about the AP Top 25 and all, like this is part of what paints that picture. Like when the Big 12 is talked about as being a league of parity, it's because it's bad.
Right.
It's
SEC, they're trying to flip the narrative. They don't do that with the Big 12.
well, and this isn't even the SEC. This is Stuart Mandel, who works for The Athletic, who covers college football at the highest level and helps to set the narrative.
But which is it? Which is it?
Yeah, I mean, the
You
SEC
can't have it both ways.
Well, the SEC is tough this year because it's a league of parity, and anybody can win in a given day.
Right.
I would say the SEC and the Big 12 are about as similar as they've been in a long time in terms of that. Like, I think we've got a pretty good sense now of who's at the top of the Big 12 in the same way that we do with the SEC. We could have some, crazy, shocking teams win it. Like, if Houston won the Big 12, I know it's 7-1. It seems, I wouldn't say likely, but fairly likely given the rest of the schedule they have. But, like, it would still be shocking to the rest of the country if Houston won the Big 12 because of where they were last year, where they've been, and even the expectations heading into this season. I mean, they ranked for the first time since 2022 this week.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a big deal if Houston ends up winning the Big 12. And they're going to throw that out there because Houston hasn't had a lot of success like some of the big SEC schools have had in recent years. But still, that shouldn't be the narrative. The narrative should be fair in comparing the SEC and the Big 12 in terms of parity.
I would say that to turn Stu's tweet into a Big 12 tweet, say the parity in the Big 12 this year is real. Big 12 fans will say that shows how tough it is. Non-Big 12 fans will say it shows the league is not as good as it used to be, but I would add and say the Big 12 is better now than it used to be. I think when you look holistically at the Big 12, top to bottom, like the Big 12 is more top-heavy now than it's been in recent years. It's still, when you look at the landscape of where it is and how wide open it remains, even Week 10, it's still a league of parity to a degree,
Sure.
but I think it's trending upwards, whereas the SEC may be trending down, and a lot of that may go back to what we talked about with coaches, hiring and firing coaches into oblivion. We shall see. But one thing is certain, you have to look out for sweeping narratives across the college football landscape like this from Stuart Mandel from The Athletic, that while not taking direct shots at the Big 12, are taking shots at the Big 12 while lifting up the SEC in a way that is uncouth. All right, Taman Turner, Ari Tepkin, this is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn, and, of course, watched as a part of Big 12 Studios. We are presented by Modelo. On the way next, let's catch up with David Smoke from 365 Sports. Nobody knows Baylor athletics quite like David Smoke does, and so we'll figure out what's going on in Waco with Dave Aranda. Is he next to lose his job in the coaching carousel? And what's the latest on Mason Miller, the offensive line coach who's now been let go? We'll get into all that next with David Smoke. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. Big 12 Radio. This is Big 12 Today. Heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. Let's visit now with David Smoke from 365 Sports, who's covered Baylor and Waco for a long time. What's going on, Smokey? How are you?
Good morning. I almost didn't make this. I told my trainer that I had a 7:40, an important meeting, and I think that just pushed this workout I just finished even deeper into pain. So
Well, you're the best,
it was
Smokey.
like, well, why would you schedule something when it's that 30-minute window? And I was like, because I know I'm touching a copperhead who's about to strike me. Okay, go ahead. So.
So a rock and a hard
Jeez.
place.
Yeah, I'm good though. It's great to see. I'm driving, but it's great to see you guys and appreciate your invitation.
No, you're the best, Smokey, and we appreciate your time, whether or not it's after a tough workout or not. All right, so offensive line coach has been fired, Mason Miller. I've heard some wild stories about why he was fired, which I'm not going to loft out there unless you can substantiate any of them. But just give us your thoughts here on a guy that was seemingly one of the top hires just a year ago based on what the offensive line did, and then now this thing has crumbled beneath him with the sack numbers and the rushing numbers with basically the same offensive line. It's wild.
Yeah, well, first of all, Mason Miller is really good at what he does, and I can get to what happened. He wasn't. I don't think he's fired. I just think that he needed to probably move on, and the program did too. I have not been able to confirm this with anybody, but yeah, right now everybody's on edge. James and Ari, they're all on edge, and I think that there was a kind of an intense moment that maybe didn't go well in a couple of different ways. But he's gone. I reached out to him. I like him a lot, and did not hear anything back from him. But they're Pro Football Focus and a couple of other places look at their offensive line play is still among the top 20, 25 in the country, which you look at. You're right. Sawyer's they're starting to time it out with Sawyer. They know. Bryson Washington's numbers are about the same where they were at this time last year when, of course, they had that big finish. The young freshmen, they're actually I like what I with Griff, Caden, and then also with Turner. They're grading well. I got somebody that sent me their weekly game by game grades. They're grading well. Everybody's on edge, man. I'll tell you what. You wish, and I don't mean to say this but you wish that fire, whatever's going on during practice or you need to take it into Saturdays. I'll be honest with you guys. This is my, of course we cover everybody, but you guys, the Big 12 Radio on TuneIn, but there's a malaise around this program that is reminding people who have been here a lot longer that it was prior to when they started having success in the early 2010s, and they turned the corner, had that long drought, no bowl games. There's no identity, and if there's the identity, it's probably not a good one. At least you thought if you could score 35 with Sawyer, you might be able to win about half your games or maybe get to 7 or 8 wins. But right now, the defense can't stop anybody, with all due respect. And it's I don't know how many people will really be inside McLean Stadium. And Baylor is one of those schools. Everybody takes homecoming, you get your memories going and all that. But I got a feeling this is going to be interesting of what really is inside that stadium. And the only reason there might be even half the stadium is because of homecoming. And I don't know if that's a reason to go to a game. But that's the word we came up with it about a week or two ago at our show. There's a malaise around this program that is really it's like, I don't want to say, I'm not in the field house. I don't have the access that I used to have. But that's just because of how Dave Aranda wants it. But it's not like walking around a morgue. It's not that serious. I'm not trying to say life and death, but everybody is like, golly, this is not going well.
Yeah, I mean, and even Smokey, like I get a sense from friends of mine that live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area here that are Baylor fans. Like, it's the same malaise, it's the same fatigue, it's and
rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Rinse and repeat.
So
Rinse and repeat right now. Yeah.
What's your feeling on the status of Dave Aranda, a guy that it seems like for the last 3 years has lived on the edge when it comes to his coaching status in the hot seat?
Just think it was the best season they've ever had, but this day and age, 2021 seems like a decade ago.
It does.
Hell, it is. It's 5 years ago. You know, when you see Dabo Swinney, when you see Brian Kelly, and you see guys who have Hall of Fame type careers throughout, and they're under fire. Now, Dabo's been able to kind of like ward that off. I think everyone should. James Franklin, man, all the money that the schools are now getting and how much is impacted, it is dog eat dog. And I said this yesterday, and I'll get to Aranda. Schools are now making more money than they've ever made before. Are they doing the right things with that money? Yes. Okay, there's the $20 million, the house settlement, whatever, and then whatever else you need to get that big-time transfer quarterback, all that. But isn't that how you go bankrupt in business, personally or professionally? You get all the money, but you spend all the money. You don't save anything back, and it's just like this major, like, does anyone ever take a deep breath? And not even really in the off season. Dave Aranda, here's the thing. There's no question. If you even polled his worst enemies, and by the way, I don't know if you could find any.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a former player or two or maybe some, but I think if you polled them, everybody would say, man, he's such a nice guy. And well, when you're 12-2, you can be a nice guy, but when you start to fade like they did until last year's late season resurgence, then you start, well, he's not fiery enough. Well, I've actually seen him probably more demonstrative, but again, you know, like, I'll give you an example, if you don't mind. Like, the Cowboys had Dave Campo in the post-Troy Emmett Aikman run when they were so good, Gailey and Campo, and then they changed from Campo. They were 5, and then they went to a guy that was more of a, you know, like iron-fisted Bill Parcells. Then they went back to, you know, then there was Wade Phillips. And, like, you do this yo-yo. Fiery coach, nice man, and maybe just father figure. Dave Aranda, 12-2 can only last so long. The 8-4, the way they finished last year, can only last so long. But you fall behind, you scratch back in the game, and then you don't have enough left to be able to finish, like last week against Cincinnati or this and that. And then you look at, they've lost some bang-bang games. Yes, they also had to come from way back to beat SMU. So to me, I don't know who they are other than what I explained. I think right now, it compared to even when they were, what was it? They were 3-9 in 23. And I just had a feeling it was still too young of where he was. The 12-2 was still fresh. And then they start 2-4. A lot of places would have fired him at 2-4 last year. And then it doesn't mean they're right. But Baylor has money. I was told from the very beginning, don't ever, ever, ever underestimate. If Baylor needs to write a check or somebody needs to write a check, they have it. But maybe I'm not a Baylor alum. You know that. Didn't go there. Nobody in my family ever did. But they have the money. The problem is they're not going to do and have the ego overreaction that you might see at A&M, and of course they're happy as hell now, or at Auburn, or at some other places. They're just not. That's not who they are. And maybe but they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars in all these facilities. No doubt everybody likes Dave, but I have something I was going to bring up, if you don't mind. Dave Aranda has fired a lot of his coaches. He might be a sweet, and he is. He might be the nicest guy. He might be everything you would want in a coach and a father and a husband and all that, a friend. But, you know, he's fired some coordinators. And eventually there's that meme of Will Smith in a big empty living room in a house, and there's no furniture in the house. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so Mac Brown, as good as he was and successful as he was at UT, you know what? He eventually got enough people who either left because they had better jobs, or he finally started going through a rotation of firing coaches or whatever because the pressure, you know, you're trying to kick. and eventually he ran out of gas too. Mac Brown, and so I, he's a nice man, but that nice man is also, and it's part of the business. He's also fired people who have gone on either to have success or not. Maybe some of them that was the right move, but eventually you're the only one left in that meeting room.
Smokey.
And I hope that makes sense. Okay.
Yes, no, it absolutely does. Well said, buddy. And by the way, just real quickly on fiscal responsibility or lack thereof in college athletics, so far coaches that have been fired in 2025 add up to $170 million in buyout money, which could basically fully fund the rev share of 7 universities. So
yeah, and I know, James, I'm sorry, but for example, then they're going to hire somebody else,
right?
And probably doubles what let's say you had a $54 million buyout, and then you're going to hire somebody else, and some of those schools are not going to hire some unknown guy, and they're going to give him a big deal, and like the second year they're going to go like 10-3 or 4, and they're going to extend it. Like Baylor extended Aranda after 12-2, and the timing of other teams wanted him. Sometimes, you know what? You don't want to lose a coach who's successful, but sometimes, okay, bye, and go find somebody else. You just keep doubling and tripling the number. I'm sorry.
No, you're totally right. Totally right.
Yeah.
Smokey, what does Dave Aranda have to do to finish out the season? I mean, I know he's not in a position right now. They're not going to dismiss him this weekend, but if he gets to last through the season, what does he have to do?
Well, it's a great question, and that's really kind of what, like, there are some schools, doesn't mean they're right, where the pressure from the boosters and the donors, not the fan base, because fan bases are, that, God bless them, they're the ones that are also paying for some of these buyouts with student fees and whatever. But the 6-6 last year might have allowed him to save his job because they were 2-4. I can't imagine that if you go 6-6 and get to a bowl game and it's 6-7, which they did in 22. Again, where are you? Here's one great question. They have Houston and Utah, both playing really well right now. They have at home. So they have 2 ranked teams at home. And then they have the game coming up at home against UCF. I think Houston, I'm gone. But I think he has to win 3 out of 4. And I'm not saying Mac Rose, I've texted him, believe me, he's got that to do, and he's also got this college football playoff thing, which you think that both of them are high priorities, right? One he's getting paid to do, the other one it's kind of a prestigious opportunity. But I would think you're going to have to beat one of those 2 ranked teams if they're still ranked or not, Utah and Houston. And I mean, those 2 teams do everything that you don't do very well. And then you're going to have to, obviously, I would say this, if he loses at home, no one's told me this, there were people that expected something to happen on Sunday or Monday. Some people that have kind of been around a while. If they lose at home on Saturday to UCF, with all due respect to what they're trying to do there with Scott, I think if they lose on Saturday at home, homecoming with 22 or 30,000 people there, I cannot imagine he lasts the weekend. That's just me. I've been wrong before, but I think you're going to have to win 3 out of 4. And like Phil Bennett told us yesterday on a segment, he goes, they have the ability to do that, but they wear themselves out by just the way they start and the way they have to come back. And if you haven't done it after 8 games, can you do it the last 4?
Yeah, well said. David Smoke, 365 Sports. Go check out the great work that they do at 365 Sports on YouTube. Smokey, you're the best, buddy. Appreciate you.
Thank you guys so much. Sorry I talked too much. You never should ask another talk show host to come on the show.
You're the best, Smokey. We love when you talk.
Thank you, Smoke.
That's why we invite you on, brother. Take care.
Bye-bye.
David Smoke from 365 Sports. Go check out the great work they're doing, not just to cover Baylor, but all things Big 12. All right, this is Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. We'll get into more on this on the way, including Aranda's status. Plus, I've got some Big 12 pressing questions. Is Houston in the driver's seat? How many Big 12 teams get to 6 wins? And which 2-loss Big 12 team has the best shot at a championship? We'll address those Big 12 pressing questions next. With Tabor Turner in today for James Westlake, I'm Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios, and presented by Modelo. is Big 12 Today. I am Ari Temkin on social at Ari Sports, along with Taman Turner in today for James Westling, who is back tomorrow. Reacting to Week 9, looking ahead to Week 10, we've got some pressing questions to get to. And I thought of some of the things that maybe are most intriguing about the Big 12 big picture at this point in time. And so, first question I have, Taman, for us is, can Colorado get to 6 wins?
You know, I was looking at their Final Four: Arizona at West Virginia, Arizona State, and Kansas State.
Hold on. But Colorado is 3-5, 1-4 in conference play. I would say, given all of the health situation with Deion Sanders, having his bladder removed in the offseason and because of bladder cancer, and then having blood clots, continued blood clots in his legs, having surgery on that. So, and on top of that, losing the Heisman Trophy winner and his son at quarterback, who is a pretty prolific passer for Colorado. So they lost a ton, especially at the top end of their roster, and their coach has dealt with cancer and additional surgeries this season. So 3-5, 1-4 conference play, Taman. 6 wins would be a miracle, considering everything we just talked about. Do you think they can get there?
No. I just look at who they're playing. Arizona, I mean, they could win. West Virginia, I think they'll win. But those last 2 games, Arizona State and at Kansas State, are hard. I mean, Arizona State, I know they have a lot of injuries right now. Sam Levin, Jordan Tyson, what is their status? Colorado's talented, as you mentioned, but I think that comes down to the health so much for Arizona State, because I don't think they're going to beat K-State in Manhattan. And Arizona is a 50-50 question mark. So if I were to take my money, I assume Arizona State will have some sense of health, and I really, really like Kenny Dillingham. I'm going to say they fall short of it.
Yeah, it seems unrealistic. I mean, I think you're right. They're probably only going to be favored in one of those games, which is, and maybe even not, the game at West Virginia. And then if Arizona State, that game, to me, comes down to, like, is Sam Levin healthy, is Jordan Tyson healthy? And even then, who knows if they can win that. So, yeah, I think 4 wins is reasonable. 5 wins would be a lot, and obviously 6 wins would be a miracle here, with having to win 3 out of their last 4 in order to get to bowl eligibility. All right, with that being said, Taman, so currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bowl eligible teams: BYU, Cincinnati, Texas Tech, Houston, and Utah, all bowl eligible. Sorry, TCU as well. That's 6. 6 bowl eligible teams. Arizona State's at 5 wins. K-State's at 4 wins. Iowa State's at 5 wins. Baylor, Kansas, Arizona, and UCF all at 4 wins. Colorado, West Virginia, Oklahoma State all 3 or less wins on the season. How many bowl-eligible teams did the Big 12 end up with 6 currently and 4 games left?
That is a good question. I mean, look, BYU will be a lot. We mentioned the teams that are locked. This is hard because I think Kansas State, I think they're trending in the right direction after kind of a rocky start, but I think they're trending in the right direction. Arizona State depends on their health. I mean, Kenny Dillingham hasn't really been, like, he's said that, his guys are out and he's, keeping that role. But if they can have some sense of health, I think they're eligible. But Iowa State, I think, is too banged up. Baylor's not trending in the right direction. Kansas isn't trending in the right direction. Outside of the 5 that we mentioned, I would, I guess, throw Kansas State and Arizona State, I think, are your 2 best bets. But I don't know. It depends on Arizona State's health.
You think there's only 8 teams that get in? I mean, Arizona State needs 1 more win. They're at 5 wins. I'd say regardless of health, they're going to get a bowl game. I mean, I think they'll win at least 1 of their final 4. I think K-State will be a bowl team for sure. They're trending up.
Yeah, they are. TCU finds ways to win, even if they're not necessarily the prettiest. They have found some ways to win. To me, they should have beaten West Virginia by more, but they still won the game. They got the W.
Iowa State also needs just 1 more win. TCU is already bowl eligible at 6 wins. Iowa State needs to win 1 of Arizona State, TCU, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. I'd say at the very least they win the Oklahoma State game, even if they lose the rest of those games. So I would say Arizona State, yes. Kansas State, yes. Iowa State, yes.
TCU?
Well, TCU is already bowl eligible, so that'd be 9 teams. So then it comes down to UCF, Arizona, Kansas, and Baylor. That's your
UCF,
four-win
Kansas,
teams.
Arizona. I don't see any of those 4 teams making it.
No?
No, being bowl eligible.
So Kansas has Oklahoma State this weekend, so give them 5 wins. Then they have to win one of at Arizona, at Iowa State versus Utah.
I mean, they're going at Arizona State and at Iowa State, and against. I don't see them winning any of those 3 games. Iowa State might be a bet because Iowa State's really banged up, but I still don't see. Kansas hasn't shown me, especially in the last 2 games, that I should put them in there.
Yeah, and UCF, by the way, has only played 7 games, so they actually have 5 more left to get 2 wins. At Baylor, Houston, at Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, and at BYU. So, again, with Oklahoma State being a win for everybody that plays them, they need 1 more out of their last 4 because Oklahoma State will be a win to get them to 5. But that's a tough stretch, and especially against a Baylor team that also needs that win in order to get to bowl eligibility. I think I would say out of the final 4 teams we're talking about here that are 4-4 or 4-3, give me 2 of them to get there, and I think the winner of the UCF Baylor game this weekend will be the one out of those 2 that ends up being bowl eligible. The loser, I think, ends up not being bowl eligible. So that I think gets me. I'm not sure where I am on Kansas yet. I agree with you. They seem to be trending down, but also Daniels has played really well and just had a bad game this game. It's his worst game of the year. So I'm willing to give him a little bit of grace there and think that he could bounce back and win a couple of these last games, especially with Oklahoma State on the schedule. For me, it comes down to, like, does Arizona, UCF, or Baylor get there? And, Arizona, Kansas has at Colorado, Kansas. They also have 5 left. At Colorado, Kansas, at Cincinnati, Baylor, at Arizona State. Can they win 2 of those? I could see that. That depends on the Kansas-Arizona game. So I'll say I think there are 10 bowl-eligible teams in the Big 12.
Here's my
I think
fear.
6 don't make it.
Here's my fear about Kansas. On the road this season, they lost to Texas Tech 42-17. They lost to Missouri 42-31. They have to go to Arizona. They have to go to Iowa State. Yes, they'll beat Oklahoma State, but going to Arizona, going to Iowa State where they haven't played well on the road, then to come home and play to take on a good Utah team, I don't know if I see it.
So
I got to see better. I got to see them play better on the road.
How many teams?
How many teams all together?
So there's 6 currently.
Right. Like you said,
2 more have at least 5 wins. So
right.
need just 1
so that's
more.
8. I would say.
And then 5 more with at least 4 wins, and 2 of those 5 have 5 more games instead of 4.
I would say 10. 10 teams. Yeah. I would put out of those bottom 4 that we mentioned, Baylor, Kansas, Arizona, and UCF, I would say the best out of that would probably be Arizona and at this point UCF, because I just don't like the way that Baylor and Kansas are trending.
Yeah, I think I agree there. I'm not sure of the specific schools, but I'll say 10. I think, there's the obvious 3 at the bottom that are not going to make it, and then I think 3 more. So Colorado, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, most likely not going to make it, and then give me another 3 out of that I think won't make it. All right. Out of the 2 lost conference teams, Taman, who still has a shot or the best shot to win a Big 12 championship? So Utah, Arizona State, Kansas State, TCU, all 3-2 in conference play.
Out of all
4 of those teams.
Yeah. Is Arizona State healthy?
Well, are they?
Right now they're not.
So, well, there you go. You answered your own question.
But they could get healthy.
Could they?
Maybe. We don't know. If they're healthy, I definitely think they're a threat. I think they've shown that. Utah, I still think is a threat. I know they have some health issues too. We don't know how good Bird Ficklin will be going forward, but I definitely think they've entered the conversation. I like the way Kansas State has played over the last couple of weeks. I think they're in that conversation. TCU, I don't like the way they played. I didn't like the way they played against West Virginia. I didn't like the way they played when they played Arizona State. I'm going to go with Arizona State, Kansas State, and Utah as your best bets.
You just gave me 3 of 4 teams.
Who's
your best bet?
Utah.
Yeah.
I
think it's K-State. I think it's K-State because, and maybe it's fool's gold for what they did against Kansas, but they seem to be trending up. I think a lot of the things that we expected to happen when the season started that did not are starting to manifest themselves. I think their pass rush, I mean, they got after Jalen Daniels. They have a really good pass rush. I think their defense has really been up to the test last few weeks. Desmond Purnell is on one. I mean, he has dominated 2 straight games. I mean, he was a game wrecker against Kansas, and he was my player of the week last week or 2 weeks ago. So then when you couple that with, I know Dylan Edwards' health is still up in the air, but to me that doesn't matter as much because if Avery Johnson's able to find Jace Brown the way he did, their passing offense continues to take off. Even with Joe Jackson and Avery Johnson booing the running attack, I think they're fine even without Dylan Edwards. So the reason I'd pick Utah a little bit over K-State is simply because I trust K-State's downfield passing attack, which is shocking to say more than Utah. But I'd say those are the two in the conversation. Arizona State, it's hard to think of them in terms of the Big 12 championship picture because of health and because of their schedule. I mean, they've got at Iowa State, West Virginia, at Colorado, Arizona. Actually, it's not as hard as I thought it was. I thought I looked at this, and it was much more difficult. I mean, Arizona State could very well be in it. Iowa State, West Virginia, Colorado, Arizona.
It's not impossible.
Yeah.
Their health is their biggest question mark. I mean, Kenny Dillingham said they've been in this situation before, which they were last year, but they weren't this banged up last year. That's the problem that they have. With K-State, here's my fear with them. They got to play Texas Tech. They got to go to Utah. Oklahoma State should be a win. Colorado should be a win. But Texas Tech and at Utah, that's tough. That's not going to be easy for them.
Yeah. All right. I still think it's K-State, but I think Arizona State, K-State, and Utah, to your point, all within that scope. And I guess it just depends on do they hold firm at 2 and only have 2 losses, because it feels like you may not be in a situation where 2 losses will be enough to get you in. But, I mean, you got 4 teams right now that have less than 2 losses in Big 12 play that are all going to be part of this picture. So we'll see if 2 losses is too many by the time we get down to it. All right, final pressing questions here as we answer some Big 12 pressing questions on Big 12 radio. Is Houston in the driver's seat right now, Taman?
Yes.
Houston in the driver's seat to play and win a Big 12 championship.
Listen, absolutely. They're 7-1. They play West Virginia, at UCF, TCU, and at Baylor. We just talked about how Baylor's trending down. TCU that game's at home. I think that favors Houston more than TCU. TCU's been a little inconsistent this year. UCF and West Virginia, I think they win those games easily. And the way that Willie Fritz is coached, the way that Connor Wegman has really emerged, has really taken control of the offense, I think Houston is absolutely in the driver's seat.
Yeah, I mean, again, you just said their last remaining 4 games, which isn't exactly the slog that it is for all these other teams at the top of the conference. I mean, look at BYU's schedule, look at Cincinnati's schedule, look at Texas Tech's schedule. These are the 4 teams we're talking about here. So BYU has Texas Tech, TCU, Cincinnati, UCF. So UCF is by far the worst team that BYU has left. And you could argue that Houston, the best team they have left is UCF. Maybe it's TCU. And that is also the question on BYU's schedule remaining. TCU or UCF? Probably UCF. Cincinnati, Utah, Arizona, BYU, TCU. That's a tough stretch. That is real tough.
Yes.
To me, there is a 0% chance that Cincinnati ends that undefeated. 0.
I like Cincinnati a lot. I want them to finish that undefeated. I know they're not. I don't think they are, I should say. But I agree with your point.
And then Texas Tech has Kansas State, BYU, UCF, and West Virginia. I think if Texas Tech takes care of business against K-State and BYU, they're going to be in the Big 12 championship game. And if BYU's only loss is to Texas Tech here, then they're also going to be in the Big 12 championship game. And then we're looking at BYU and Texas Tech. To me, that's the most likely outcome here, quite frankly. I know that BYU has some tough games left aside from just Texas Tech, but in Cincinnati maybe the tougher one. But I'm going to call it now. I think Texas Tech and BYU play for the Big 12 championship.
I think they've been the 2 best teams in the Big 12 all year, and I agree with that sentiment. I don't have any reason to disregard that.
You just said Houston's in the driver's seat to play for the Big 12 championship.
Well, based on their schedule,
yeah.
I mean, can you disagree with that? Based on who they play and how they've played so far in the Big 12 this season, like, there's no reason to think not.
Yeah, West Virginia at UCF, TCU, and at Baylor to finish it out.
I think they can win all 4 of those games. I wouldn't be. I think I'd be more shocked if they lost one of those games than if they win them all.
And they'll definitely be the favorite in all 4 of those remaining games.
Right.
If the TCU game was on the road, maybe TCU would have been favored, but the fact that it's in Houston, I think they'll be favored in all 4 of their remaining games. All right, that's a look at the Big 12's pressing questions here on Big 12 Radio. Taman Turner in for James Westling. I'm Ari Temkin. This is Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. 12 Studios. We were talking earlier in the show about the coaching carousel. There's just no shortage of stories that are starting to come out of Baton Rouge on just how horrible of a human being Brian Kelly is, which is interesting because we already knew that. Like when one of the student photographers of Notre Dame fell off a scissors lift because it was 50-mile-per-hour winds.
Yep.
Or, when there was a student who accused one of his players of sexual assault and basically under his direction, players and people associated with the program started bullying her and she killed herself. Yeah, there's a long line of really horrible things associated with Brian Kelly, not the least of which is 2 students essentially dying on his watch. So there's really nothing that I could hear from a story perspective on Brian Kelly that would make me think anything different of him in any capacity.
He's a jerk. Does that put
Jerk?
it nicely?
I would say puts it very nicely.
I mean, it's not surprising. He doesn't have the reputation of being the nicest guy, and some of the reasons you just listed. So I don't think there's any love lost by a lot of people with Brian Kelly. I mean, granted, he's making his money, but to not have to see him on the sidelines, I don't think people are necessarily upset about it.
Yeah, and we caught one of the comments on our YouTube channel, and again, you can join us there on YouTube as part of Big 12 Conference. Just search Big 12 Conference, and that's where we are on video, Big 12 Studios. You can also catch Big 12 Studios on Tubi, Roku, Amazon Prime Video, Samsung TV Plus, and plenty of other platforms. Just search Big 12 Studios. But on YouTube, somebody was like, any of these big coaches going to end up in the Big 12, like James Franklin or Brian Kelly or... And, I mean, first off, I would hope not on Brian Kelly. Second off, if I'm Brian Kelly, I'm getting paid $60 million not to coach. And there's a chance that, like, if I do coach again, I'm going to lose that money. Yeah, I'm not.
I am chilling.
Yeah.
I'm going on vacay, long vacay.
I'm all set. And then with James Franklin, I mean, I think James Franklin will 100% be coaching next year. But, like, when I look at the openings right now, Oklahoma State's the opening right now in the Big 12. I mean, I think you've got 3 candidates that I would hire tomorrow and feel really good about it, which would be the North Texas coach, Eric Morris, the Texas State coach, G.J. Kinney, or the Texas A&M offensive coordinator, Colin Klein, former Kansas State quarterback. If Baylor ends up firing Dave Aranda, which I would imagine they will, I would also make one of those 3 your priority: Kinney, Colin Klein, and Eric Morris, which puts, I think, K-State in a weird spot because I think a lot of K-Staters are looking at that and hearing that and thinking, like, we want him. But what do you – I mean, you're going to fire Kleiman, who's shown an incredible track record here, who's – I mean, basically at this point, being 4-4 is about as down as this program's ever been. Won a Big 12 championship, multiple 10-win seasons. Like, that's tough to fire a guy – and we haven't even let this full season play out. Like, we still think K-State's very much in the thick of the Big 12 playoff picture, Big 12 championship picture. So, I don't know. I like the Colin Klein thing is so interesting to me because of the K-State part of it. And maybe he's third on a short list for both Oklahoma State and Baylor if the Baylor job opens up. But as I look to some of these big-name coaches that are losing their jobs at big-time schools, I'm not sure that any of them fit right now where the Big 12 is. And if I'm Oklahoma State, like, I'm putting all 3 of those guys ahead of anybody else, even James Franklin.
Yeah, I agree based on, the location, to put it on the easy track. But, with guys like Brian Kelly, guys like James Franklin, yes, they have incredible records and they have an incredible resume. But is it fair to say that they had, maybe unintentionally, at least on James Franklin's part, they have some baggage? And from, you take Oklahoma State, they are getting, they are at the lowest of low points right now. Do you want the perception of baggage at your school?
I mean, humans have baggage.
I mean, true.
Find me a coach that doesn't have baggage.
True, but if you're G.J. Kinney, you don't have the exact same national baggage that of a Brian Kelly has.
Sure. No, and I mean, to me, the baggage is the reason I'm not hiring Brian Kelly or James Franklin. I'm hiring one of those 3 because I like so much of what they do. I mean, I think from a schematic standpoint, I mean, Eric Morris has the skins of the wall. I mean, he's coached Patrick Mahomes. He's coached some big-time players and, now has a 0-star recruit at quarterback leading the nation in passing yards. So, like, he's done so much over so many years that showed me that, like, this is the guy that I would want leading my program. I think Colin Klein, when you look at what K-State's offense was under Colin Klein with Avery Johnson, you look at what Texas A&M's offense is right now, like there's a track record there. Multiple stops, multiple places. He knows what he's doing on offense. I think the same is true with Kinney. Now, you could argue that like chasing offensive schemes for a coach is not necessarily the way to go, and you need more of a leader. And that's where like Eric Morris, I think, has shown that to at a lesser level, but at least as a head coach has shown that. I think G.J. Kinney has shown that leadership characteristic to a degree. But yeah, I mean, for me, those three guys, like when I think about Big 12 ties, I think about, smart offensive tacticians. I think they check a lot of boxes right now. So to me, it has less to do with any of these other guys. It's more to do with what those guys bring to the table right now.
I think that's fair. I think that's a fair assessment.
I mean, what does Franklin have in terms of like recruiting this area right now? What does Brian Kelly have in terms of recruiting this area? Brian Kelly can recruit at a high level, but for me, there's too much baggage. I mean, the baggage thing probably does make a sense of Brian Kelly, but he's also 67. Is he motivated to coach? Was he motivated at LSU? It felt like he was really motivated at Notre Dame, and he came to LSU highly motivated, and that was sucked out of him.
Well, he has 56.8 million reasons to not coach right now.
Yeah. Let's take a listen to Kenny Dillingham, whose name has come up a ton in these coaching rumors, which is funny to me. It's almost to a degree like hearing Matt Campbell's names come up in these coaching rumors. But here's Kenny Dillingham this week addressing some of these coaching rumors.
I'm trying to win as many games as I can here. That is my number one focus, is our players, our football team, everything about us. That's simple. Like, I am so singularly focused on us to win football games, to become a better football team, this season. Like, that's my singular focus.
I love Kenny Dillingham. I mean, the guy's a great soundbite. And I know coaches will always there's not a coach who's going to say, yeah, I'm interested in the job while they're head coaching another job.
Right.
But I actually believe Kenny Dillingham. I think what he is building at Arizona State has been remarkable considering where they were, under Herm Edwards. But I think that I think they believe in him, and I think he believes in his program.
Yeah. Look, I mean, Kenny Dillingham went to Arizona State. His wife went to Arizona State. He's from the area. Kenny Dillingham's not going anywhere.
Right.
I understand why his name is being mentioned, but that's more of like who are some of the great young coaches in college football right now, more than anything else. Like, I think when a coaching job opens and we're talking about Penn State or LSU or, Florida, whatever, Kenny Dillingham's name's going to come up because he's a really good young coach. But, like, he's not leaving.
Yeah. There's no reason for him to leave. I mean, you mentioned he's Arizona State's his alma mater. He's built a really amazing program at Arizona State. For him to leave, what would be his motivation?
Right, and he's talked openly about turning Arizona State into Oregon, turning it into a power, and there's no reason to think he can't. I mean, this year
he's on the right track. I mean, I know the injuries this year or whatever, but if you look at where Arizona State was and what they're now being mentioned as, he has grown that program, and he is growing as a coach, and he's only going to get better.
Yeah, I mean, who knows where they end up in terms of wins this year, but it's pretty obvious that if not for injuries, that this team would be competing for a Big 12 championship yet again.
Absolutely, 100%.
But, I mean, injuries are a part of this, and it's just hard to replace, a guy in Jordan Tyson who in a few months is going to become, I guess more than a few, 6 months is going to become a first-round draft pick in the NFL. Levitt is a guy that could eventually become a first-round draft pick in the NFL. So, just not easy guys to replace. And the main reason I wanted to bring this coaching stuff up was because of Lane Kiffin, who, I mean, if you're Florida, that's got to be your one of one in terms of targets. I mean, quite frankly, if you're LSU, Florida, or Penn State, that's who I would hire, but it seems to make the most sense for Florida. And if you're Lane Kiffin, he grew up in Florida. Like, I feel like there's a lot there in terms of what they have to offer relative to what he's got. But apparently, according to On3 Sports, he plans to address some of these Florida rumors with his team. Quote, Lane Kiffin told me he usually doesn't address those kinds of coaching rumors in season because there's so much more football to play and there's so many bigger things to focus on, but he's actually going to do things differently today in their team meeting. He's going to address those rumors with his players. That's from Molly McGrath. He's going to talk to them about it and say, hey, this is what happens when you win. This is a compliment to our players, our staff, and our entire program. He wants to talk to his players about it because there's so many new guys on there that this year that haven't dealt with it before, end quote. So let me ask you this. If you're Lane Kiffin, I'd say it's a coin flip. Maybe better than a coin flip that he goes to Florida. Maybe better. But I'd say it's probably close to a coin flip. Like I could, in many of these other cases, like Dillingham's not leaving, like some of these other guys, no way. But I think it's probably a coin flip. So what do you tell your team?
I mean, based on what you just said, he said, if I'm a player, that's not going to make me convinced that he's staying. I'm with you. I think it's a coin flip. Like, what do you tell your team? You tell them that, listen, you guys continue to do what you do, control your control, and we're focused on winning next week.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. I think you can't win if you try to address these rumors that way. You can't, because you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, right? If you don't say anything, you're lying by omission. If you say something and then, you're proven wrong, then you're killed for it. I think what you've got to say if you're Lane Kiffin is, look, we've got an opportunity here to do something special. We've got a really special team. This is as he said, these kinds of rumors are a byproduct of winning, and I can't control the rumors. All I can control is what we do in this locker room, and what we do in this locker room will be controlled by the outcome of this season.
Right. Yeah, you go out there and say, we're focused on winning. Look at what Kenny Dillingham had said. He said, I'm focused on winning here.
But I believe that Kenny Dillingham's not going anywhere.
No, I agree.
I think Lane Kiffin is going somewhere.
I wouldn't be surprised if he did, but the question you asked is, what do you tell your team? You tell your team that we're focused on winning here.
Yeah.
Ignore the rumors. Let's focus on what we do in this locker room and go out there and try to do something special.
Yeah, I mean, there's no perfect way to handle an exit, quote unquote. I mean, we in this role we can second guess and criticize literally everything.
Sure.
And we do in many respects.
Ari does more.
I mean, that is very much the role of the critic to a degree. And I'm not, saying radio hosts are critics, but in a lot of ways that's kind of how it shakes out. And I think this is one of those coach leaves program for different program that is just you've seen it done 100 different ways, and I'm not sure that there's a right way. I know there's a wrong way. We've definitely seen many examples of the wrong way to do it. But, I mean, what's the right way? Even in the right way, quote unquote, you could argue against it. And again, we could sit here as the Monday morning quarterback and say, well, here's the right way to do it, and not realize the context that goes into these things in terms of a job is accepted, agents might leak something, somebody else might leak something, suddenly the news comes out and you weren't able to tell anybody. There's things from a coaching perspective outside of your control that may lead to a bad exit. I think Lane Kiffin's gone. I said earlier it's a coin flip. If you're Lane Kiffin, this is your ceiling at Ole Miss. Can you win a national championship? I don't think so. And there's a long precedent that suggests you can't. Now, maybe they go out there and win a national championship this year. I don't see it. It does seem to be wide open, and they're at the top end of the SEC, and that puts you in a good position to do so, but I don't think so. I mean, you can win national championships in Florida.
Yeah.
So if I'm Lane Kiffin, it's pretty obvious for me. I'm going to Florida.
I don't disagree with anything that you just said. I think that he's in a tough position. Any coach in this situation is going to be in a tough position because, like you said, there's no right way to do it. You just have to do it the best way that you see fit, or you just don't do it the wrong way, which we both agree that there is a wrong way to do it. But, I'm still going to give a coin flip. I'm going to just say that because I'm, if I'm an Ole Miss fan, I'm optimistic by nature, I guess, a little bit. But I think as this season continues to progress, I don't know if I'm going to stay as optimistic that he's saying.
Yeah. All right, this is Big 12 Today, Big 12 Radio on TuneIn and streaming on Big 12 Studios. We are presented by Modelo. And, of course, with the onslaught of sports that we've got currently with the Week 10 in the Big 12 slate, the closing of the fall seasons, giving way to spring seasons. We got basketball tipping off next week. I mean, Arizona and Florida, the defending national champs, play in Vegas on November 3rd. So now is the perfect time to go to the store and grab yourself a 6, 12, 24-pack of Modelo because lots of great sports to sit on the couch to watch over these next 3, 4, 5 weeks. We are in the golden months of sports right now, especially from a collegiate perspective. All right, Taban Turner in for James Westling. I'm Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. Turner, who's in today for James Westling. James is back tomorrow. I am Ari Tepkin on social at TamanT717. I am Ari Tepkin on social at Ari Sports. You can catch me on Instagram and X under those handles.
Can I say something real quick?
Of course.
James's chair, along the same chair you have, is so comfortable. I love, because I always sit over there, but this chair, I love it.
Yeah, so I mean, over there for people that can't see, which is basically everybody but you and I, is how would you describe the chair that you have to sit in during the show every day?
It's like I don't know, like a bad. It's like the detention seat in at middle school where you just sit over here in the corner.
Yeah, there's not a lot of padding on it.
Yeah.
These are pretty flush with padding. Now, there is a third padded chair over there that you feel free to use while we don't have somebody using it.
It will likely be there. You know, I was trying to be nice for guests. It's the chair Commissioner Yormark sat in.
Yeah.
So I will take advantage of it because it's so comfortable.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully we'll have, recurring in-person guests.
We will.
With this show. So I guess it won't be up for grabs every day, but certainly in future days, you could probably look at taking it because, your chair is...
The detention chair.
It's not exactly comfy.
You have to sit here for 25 minutes for detention.
Yeah. All right. And we talked with David Smoke from 365 Sports earlier. There was, some news that broke over the last 24 to 48 hours where Baylor has parted ways with Mason Miller, their offensive line coach. According to Pete Thamel sources, Baylor offensive line coach Mason Miller is no longer at the program. So I said with Smokey, he was fired. Smokey corrected me and said they've parted ways mutually, whatever it is. Their offensive line coach is no longer with them. And this is the same offensive line coach that's been a really very good offensive line coach as long as he's been coaching football. He's had a lot of success, Mason Miller has. And here's what Dave Aranda said about the dismissal of Mason Miller.
Yeah, it's a personal matter with Mason. And so, my heart and my all of my thoughts and really my best wishes for his future go out to him and his family. It's a personal thing, and we've got a bunch of we got a group of O-line guys that are kind of analyst type guys that took over the role on Saturday and are aiming to do it again this week and the remaining way through. And the O-line's in a really good spot. That's what's so this game that we're in is such a crazy game. And it's just what maybe looks one way on the outside is completely the other way on the inside, and it's just difficult. But they're in a good spot, and they're feeling fired up and motivated and all of it, and so.
All right, so, a lot of innuendo there, not a lot of specifics. There's definitely a lot of rumors flying around, and we addressed those with David Smoke, who basically, we didn't mention what the rumors were specifically. Smoke didn't substantiate anything because we didn't say anything. But there's some rumors out there that there was a heated discussion between Mason Miller and another coach, which has not led to the dismissal, or rather Mason Miller and Baylor deciding to part ways. Smoke said, quote, on Twitter, changes with Baylor football staff won't be surprising if not a complete reset because it's about wins and losses. And as I said, over the weekend, they're a mess. But look where their O-line ranks among FBS schools through last weekend. And that's not very good via Cam Miller's statistics on it. And this was a program that last year one of the best offensive lines in football in terms of the rush offense, in terms of sacks. It's been a complete 180 in terms of production this year to last year. It did not seem to be performance-related. That would be what Smokey told us. And then he tweeted, it wasn't on Aranda's to-do list. When you're losing, tension builds. Everyone's on edge, some more than others. I'll leave it at that and what I said on Big 12 Radio on TuneIn about an hour ago, which is basically that when you're losing, one of my favorite quotes in sports of all time is from Ozzie Guillen, and he said, good teams win games, bad teams have meetings. And it's like, a symptom, a product of losing, and there's a difference between symptoms and products of losing. Symptoms cause you to lose. Products are what happens when you lose, and people conflate those two a lot. Products are what happens when you lose. When teams lose, there's some infighting. People point fingers and blame, and whereas when teams are winning, there's a lot less blame to go around, and there's a lot more cordiality. That's even a word between the group. So I think, what's rumored to have happened here is you've had a lot of intense people that have lost more games than were expected, and tempers flared, and Mason Miller now is out of a job. And my assumption is, as this season continues to go down the drain for Baylor, he won't be the last for Baylor to lose his job.
I think the dominoes are falling at Baylor. One thing I'll give Smokey, he said that, Dave Aranda's the nicest guy, that even his, worst enemies will still like Dave Aranda. And if you look at what Dave Aranda said, he sounded so nice. I mean, nobody denies that. But it's a dog-eat-dog business, and you have to win. And look, coaches like players. Most coaches are former players, right? They are competitive. And when you're not winning at the expectation level that you set for yourself and for your program, there's going to be a lot of tension, a lot of frustration in that locker room. So I agree with you, Art. I think this is the first of what we're going to see likely as a downfall of what's going to continue to happen at Baylor in terms of coaching and I think their program's going to look a lot different next year.
Yeah. All right, coming up in about 11 minutes from now, we'll talk with Taylor McHargue, who is our Monday morning quarterback, joining us on a Tuesday. But what's interesting is you start to look at the Big 12 title race, which you've spent a lot of time on the show talking about today. And, I mean, quarterback injuries going to play a significant role in how this thing shakes out. And, I mean, look, health shapes championships. It just does. And that's the truth in sports. Like there's a luck factor, and health is a large part of that luck factor. You have to be healthy. And not all teams are healthy, but where your injuries occur are paramount to this discussion. So, I mean, look at 3 teams in the Big 12 right now that are towards the top of the conference that have major question marks with the quarterback injury. And we'll say 2 specifically, which would be Utah and Texas Tech, and then Arizona State, who may or may not really be in the Big 12 title race because of their quarterback injuries. But, I mean, Devin Dampier is a week-to-week injury, did not play against Colorado. Bird Ficklin got the start, played well, but clearly you're putting your best foot forward if you're Utah with Devin Dampier at quarterback. Until we get more from Bird Ficklin to really get a better picture. At this point, he's true freshman quarterback that played pretty well in his first start, amassing 151 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. But we'll see. It remains to be seen if he can continue to do that. With Texas Tech, felt pretty good about Will Hammond in that Utah game after Morton left. Now, Will Hammond's lost for the year with an ACL injury. So you've got Baron Morton, who is expected to return against Kansas State. And then Mitch Griffiths, who started the year as a third-string quarterback. So I think it's fair to say that for both Utah and Texas Tech, probably more so Texas Tech than Utah at this point in time, but for both of those programs, quarterback health remains paramount in terms of their ability to win a Big 12 championship and beyond. Obviously, Arizona State at this point is probably on the outside looking in at that, but quarterback health plays a significant piece to this. And this is no different than any other league. I mean, Bo Pribula left the Missouri game this weekend. I think he's done for the year. I mean, that's a Missouri team that was very much factoring into the Big 12 or the SEC title race. Arch Manning is in concussion protocol after he left the game against Mississippi State. So what's his status? I mean, I think you look at the rest of the conferences, and, yeah, I mean, quarterback injuries are going to dictate these races. And, I mean, maybe more so in the Big 12 right now in terms of the particular injuries. But, Taman, I think it's obvious that right now where we are, like, quarterback injuries are going to play a significant role in shaping the Big 12. And, like, if Baron Morton can't stay healthy, and that's a big if because of his health injury history. I mean, he started every game last year. It was the first time a Texas Tech quarterback had started every game since Mahomes, but he didn't play in every game. He didn't finish every game.
Let's expand on that a little bit. When Will Morton came in that Utah game, everybody was like, "Man, Texas Tech has a very good problem."
Hammond?
Yeah. What did I say?
Will Morton.
I said Will Morton.
Baron Morton's second cousin.
Yeah. Will Hammond played very, very well in that game, right? But we saw as the season went on, he has some question marks, right? When we spoke to Joey McGuire on the show, Joey legitimately said, Coach McGuire literally said, Baron Morton's our quarterback.
Yeah.
He said it. Everybody else was like, I don't know. Will Hammond, you might want to put him in there. He said,
yeah,
Baron
myself included, especially after the Utah game.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked every
He
bit
looked
as
phenomenal.
Yeah, he looked phenomenal.
He looked phenomenal. And Baron Morton is the better quarterback. No disrespect to Will Hammond, but Baron Morton is the better quarterback.
It's almost like Joey McGuire's in practice and sees these things. You
right.
know?
Yeah, right. And now you look at Utah, Devin Dampier's hurt. Bird Fickle played well. But is that the same type of situation? Are we going to consistently see it down the stretch in these final 4 games? That we don't know yet. We like what we saw. That was good what he did against Colorado. But will we see that in these final 4 stretch? That remains to be seen.
Well, again, I go back to the Ficklin thing. Like, I'm not sure that Dampier has more upside as a passer because Dampier hasn't shown that in his career. But Ficklin's a true freshman, and what we saw against Colorado wasn't great in terms of pass offense, but he didn't need to be. They didn't need him to be an effective passer.
Right.
When you're rushing for over 400 yards, you don't need to pass the football to be effective.
Down that rock.
By the way, here is what Joey McGuire said, clip 6, Taman, on Mitch Griffiths at quarterback.
One reason is because he's got a lot of confidence. Mitch is a very confident person, and he brings, like whenever people are around him, he brings that confidence to the group. And so we felt good with him going in there. I was proud of him.
Well, look, I mean, it helps to have a third-string quarterback that's a guy that's played a lot. I mean, when you think about Utah's in a situation where their backup's a true freshman. Texas Tech has, an experienced former 4-star as their backup who's now out for the year, and then a experienced quarterback who's played a lot of games as their third stringer. So, I mean, that's why it's important to have depth, but for Texas Tech to be the best, to be their best version, they're going to need Baron Morton at quarterback. I mean, Arizona State lost Jordan Tyson, won a Big 12 championship without him, and went toe-to-toe with Texas without Jordan Tyson, right? Like, that feels like an injury that's really hard to overcome, but they still have the quarterback. I'd submit to you that Tyson's the better player overall, but that Leavitt, obviously, at the quarterback position means more for their overall success.
Absolutely.
And I think that same is true with Tech and Utah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When Sam Leavitt was out, whether it was this past week or a couple weeks ago, Arizona State looked like a totally different team. No disrespect to Jordan Tyson, but and no disrespect to Jeff Sims, but Sam Leavitt is that talented and is that impactful for that offense. When he's not there, it's a different team. I know when they played Utah and they lost, Kenny Dillingham was like, it's not an excuse, and nobody's making an excuses. All we are saying is that we can see a significant change in difference on how the offense plays when Sam Leavitt is there compared to when Jeff Sims there. That's not disrespect or anything. That's just honesty.
Yeah, well said. By the way, speaking of Texas Tech, Saturday's Texas Tech-Kansas State game will be featured as part of Big 12's 30-year anniversary celebration, since it marks the inaugural Big 12 conference game, the first ever Big 12 conference game featured Texas Tech and K-State 30 years ago. So what has turned out to be a hugely important game for the Big 12 title race. I mean, Texas Tech could effectively knock K-State out with a win here, but K-State can very well solidify their spot as contenders in the Big 12 race with a win over Texas Tech. So it's a huge game, and will be featured as part of the Big 12's 30th anniversary celebration on Saturday. It's a game you can also catch right here on Big 12 Radio as a part of Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. 2:30 kick for Texas Tech, K-State, for a game you can watch on Fox, but a game you can hear as a part of Big 12 Radio. We're going to have for you UCF Baylor starting at 11 a.m. Central, and that will be following Big 12 Game Day with TJ Reeves on Big 12 Radio, and then that'll flow right into the 30th anniversary game between Texas Tech and K-State, and then the nightcap on Big 12 Radio will be Cincinnati and Utah at Arizona, Colorado. Arizona, Colorado at 6 o'clock. That's the other game you can catch as part of Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. So 3 games featured as the games of the week on Big 12 Radio this weekend. And, of course, right now you're looking at the full Week 10 slate where you can catch all of the games on your television. All right, with Taman Turner, I'm Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. Our Monday morning quarterback, Taylor McHargue, joins us next. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn and watched exclusively on Big 12 Studios. today, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. We are presented by Modelo. Taman Turner is in today for James. I am Ari Tevkin. We're pleased to be joined right now by our Monday morning quarterback on a Tuesday, Taylor McHargue, joining us here on Big 12 Radio. Taylor, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Doing very well, thank you. Always appreciate your time and insight, and especially specific to the quarterback position, which is a position we were just talking about because it feels like it's going to play a significant role in the Big 12 championship with Bird Ficklin stepping in for Devin Dampier. Who knows what the long-term prognosis is on Dampier, and certainly Ficklin played well, but who knows what happens when a true freshman's asked to consistently throw the ball down the field. And then, of course, Behren Morton, that situation with Texas Tech. Just give us kind of your overall thoughts here on, how far can Utah and Texas Tech go if they're not quarterback?
Yeah, I think the benefit for Utah, and I would say it's similar for how BYU has protected and built around Bear Bachmeier. You're going to have to lean on your defense right down the stretch for Utah. I think for Texas Tech, the prognosis, it sounds like Behren Morton will be back this week, but we'll see. And if it's not, then now you're down to your third string guy, obviously with Will Hammond being out. But I thought from a week ago on quarterback play, the most impressive performance to me, you got to go look to Houston and Connor Wegman. And I know that they sort of held on for dear life in that fourth quarter and almost gave it up to Arizona State. But to have over 300 yards of total offense and the way that he ran the football as well, just extremely impressed with Connor Wegman and Houston overall as a team that, I said at the beginning of the year, I thought that this would be one of the more improved teams. To me, that meant like 7 or 8 wins. I did not think that this would be a team that we would see competing for this league. But you look at the standings right now, 4-1 in conference play, and they've got some big ones coming down the stretch, but goodness, they're right there at the top of this conference in the second year under Willie Fritz.
How difficult is it, Taylor, to step in as a backup quarterback, and especially if you're a true freshman like Ficklin?
Yeah, I think, number one, it's always difficult when you're a true freshman, but it's a little easier, I would say, when you're at this point of the season, right, where he's been very clearly the backup this entire time, over the last few weeks of the season. So he's getting the 2 reps. And, the message that it's always being communicated to you as a quarterback, and at really any position, but especially at quarterback, is, you're a play away, right? And you never know when a situation like this can pop up. And I think the benefit for them this week is that he will have had all of the 1 reps coming into this game this week in practice. But yeah, I think going back to Bear Bachmeier and BYU, I think that's the style. When we think about, how do you support a freshman quarterback? I know it sounds like coach speak, but it's playing good defense, it's winning time of possession, and it's winning the field position battle on special teams. Because what you don't want to ever have happen with a young quarterback, and this will be the emphasis for Utah, is you don't want to be behind the sticks. You don't want to be starting your drives inside your 10-yard line, inside your 15-yard line. And you got to create some takeaways because you need those momentum plays on short fields where it feels like you stole some points here and you stole a possession here. If you're asking your freshman quarterback to lead you on 10 and 12 play drives consistently, that's going to get you beat. And that's something that BYU's done a really good job of avoiding for Bear Bachmeier.
One of the names that I haven't yet seen mentioned for the Heisman Trophy race is Brendan Sorsby at Cincinnati, who from a numbers standpoint is up there with the guys at the top in Ty Simpson and Fernando Mendoza, especially when you factor in his rushing numbers. Do you think that Sorsby should get more love for the Heisman race? And how do you handicap where the Big 12 quarterback picture is in terms of the top of the conference?
Well, I think number one, he has been phenomenal this year overall. When you think about it's not just how effective he's been throwing the football and the fact that he's only got 1 interception. He's been huge for them on the ground as well. He's averaging 9 yards a carry, or 6 yards a carry on the ground. And so the times that he's taken off has been something that Cincinnati has benefited from really all season. And if you go back to, outside of the Nebraska performance, he has been phenomenal all season. I think in order for this, when you talk about a Heisman campaign, I think where does that moment come from? What is it in the back half of the schedule? Where does it happen? Now, fortunately for Brendan Sorsby in Cincinnati, they have a big opportunity this weekend against Utah, right? So that's a game that when you think about what does it take to sort of insert yourself into the Heisman conversation, you got to have a moment or two in big spots. But they've got, if you look through the November schedule for them, I think this opportunity against Utah and then at home in a couple weeks against BYU, those are your shots where if Cincinnati's for real, if this is a real conference championship contender, these are your moments that you got to obviously win these games. And if Brendan Sorsby goes out and continues to play the way that he has, I think he inserts himself, maybe not as somebody that's going to win the Heisman, but somebody that could get to New York.
Taylor, Arizona State has a favorable schedule down the stretch, but they are banged up, and one of the guys who's really banged up is their quarterback Sam Levitt. Can Jeff Sims kind of lead this team to a Big 12 championship game?
Yeah, I think it's going to be challenging. I think the problem for them is they no longer control their destiny. And if you look at the scenarios that need to happen in order for them to end up in Dallas for the Big 12 championship, I think that loss against Houston probably did them in. I don't think that this is a team that we're going to see playing for the conference championship. It also, like you mentioned, I think this is a tough spot coming up on an early kick at Iowa State, a place where, man, Iowa State has been feast or famine, depending on whether or not they're home or away. When they're away, they've really struggled. When they're home, Iowa State looks like world beaters. I mean, look at how that win over Iowa has aged and how much stronger that looks now compared to when it happened at the time. So for Arizona State, no, to answer your question, I don't think this is a team that we're going to see in Dallas. I don't think, especially now with your starting quarterback down. And if there's any hope for that, obviously they've got to get a win this week. But I like Iowa State in this spot, just again because of how they've played at home all season.
Taylor McHargue is our Monday morning quarterback here for Big 12 Radio. You can also find him calling games for CBS and ESPN, and the former Rice Owl quarterback. So with that being said, Taylor, not a huge Houston fan, I'd imagine, but they've won 7 of 8 games. I'm curious how you'd evaluate Connor Wegman as a quarterback.
Yeah, well, so they were, of course, they were our rival, but I will say this, I am a Willie Fritz fan, and anywhere he's gone, I just think that he's who he is as a person. I've gotten to do a couple of his games. His daughter back in the day called games for ESPN. She was on sideline with us, Lainey, and I think that family, anybody that I had ever met from the Fritz family, just think the world of them and have a ton of respect for Coach Fritz. And I would say that his teams model the consistency that he coaches with. And a year ago, they couldn't score. It's one of the worst offenses in the country. And he said, we had them in week 1 against Stephen F. Austin. And he said, last year on offense was not the standard. We are going to get this figured out. And I don't know, are we going to win the league this year? I don't know, but we will be better on offense. And that was the case. And I think Connor Wegman, Tanner Koziel, they did go get Rice's running back, Dean Connors, who's been extremely productive for them. But I think the bigger thing is they just don't beat themselves. And that's if you look back to the Tulane teams when they won the Cotton Bowl over USC, that crazy season for Tulane. Consistency, good defense, don't beat yourself on offense, and then hit your explosive plays when they're there. And that's what Houston does. And I think, again, it's a team that extremely impressed with how they've played this season. It doesn't surprise me that they've had this turnaround, because this is exactly what Coach Fritz has done. After anybody that does not know much about Coach Fritz prior to his time at Tulane and Houston, go look up his coaching resume, and he's won everywhere he's ever been. It's really unbelievable. So for Houston down the stretch, I think this is a team that we need to really – I think they are now. The win over Arizona State, I think, solidified them as being a serious contender. But they have as favorable a schedule down the stretch. They played a lot of the teams at the bottom of the league. In the next 2 weeks, West Virginia and UCF, have to imagine they win both of those. Big one at home against TCU. And then I think you're going to be looking at whether or not Dave Aranda's been fired by Baylor. Yeah. If he has, they've got Baylor the last week of the season. You may be playing a shell of a Baylor team. So I think this could be a team that you're looking up at the end of the year that's 11-1, and we're talking about not just for the Big 12 championship, but this being a playoff team.
Taylor, what does Avery Johnson need to do this weekend to help propel his team get a win against Texas Tech?
Well, I think Kansas State in the last couple weeks has been much more like what we expected out of them at the start of this season.
Yes.
I think if you go back to the first couple weeks of the year, it felt like the hangover from Ireland lasted the entire month of September for them, right? And who we've seen out of Avery Johnson the last two games against Kansas and against TCU, I think is a much more confident player. To me, though, he has not been the problem. They couldn't get stops on the defensive side, and they did not have guys making plays around Avery Johnson in the first part of the season. Now, to be critical of him, they should have beat Baylor. He throws a pick six in the closing stretches of that game, where if you go back and take that one play away, it's actually pretty crazy that we'd be talking about Kansas State really in the mix of the Big 12 championship, because that loss against Arizona earlier in the year did not count as a Big 12 loss. So for all the struggles that Kansas State had in the first part of the season, I think exactly what you've seen out of Avery Johnson and this team overall the last 2 weeks, if they can continue that, this is a huge opportunity for them to completely derail Texas Tech season this week, and a game that I think, especially if Behren Morton can't go, man, I would not be shocked at all to see Kansas State win this game.
Talk with Taylor McHargue here on Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo. Taylor, who's your favorite quarterback in the Big 12 to watch?
Man, when he's healthy, I would say Sam Leavitt. I think the toughness that he plays with, and the Texas Tech game was such a great example of there's a little bit of chaos in his game where just from an entertainment perspective, I think he makes so much happen off script. He is such a good athlete that I still think that people overlook. And the other one that I would say, just as a fan of the sport, that I would, I'm happy that for Connor Wegman, that he is having this moment after how hard his run was at A&M. And I don't know Connor Wegman well. I don't have a personal relationship with him, but covered him. I saw him at the Manning camp this summer and had their first game this year. And you could tell his teammates care about him, that he cares about his teammates, as somebody that you kind of want to pull for. And I'm happy to see a guy that anytime you see someone that sort of resurrected their career after a tough stretch, he went through the gauntlet in College Station. And, just add him to the list of quarterbacks that go through A&M and it doesn't work out there. And, look at what Haynes King is doing in the ACC at Georgia Tech. Wegman is having a resurgence, and I would just say, as a fan of the sport, I'm happy for him.
Taylor McHargue, our Monday morning quarterback. Taylor, you're the best. Appreciate you carving out time to join us each and every week. Love your analysis, and it's always great to hear from you, bud. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me. We'll talk to y'all next week.
Yep.
Thanks, Taylor.
Talk to you next week. Taylor McHargue, our Monday morning quarterback. He usually joins us on Mondays, but sometimes we've got conflicts, so it's always nice of him to be able to be flexible.
Tuesday morning quarterback.
Yeah, our Tuesday morning quarterback, exactly. But agreed with him on Sam Leavitt. And I love, he said that there's a element of chaos to his game, and I think it's a great way to describe it. Like, Sam Leavitt is a gamer. Sam Leavitt is a dog. Like, it is very enjoyable to watch him play because he plays with emotion. Like, I think a lot of the things that we love about when players play, or things we say we want to see players play the style with, like, that's the way he plays.
I feel like he's, in a sense, and hear me out on this, a quarterback version of Cam Skattebo.
Yeah.
He's tough.
Yeah.
He's tough.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair to a degree. I mean, Skattebo is just at his own level of crazy. That's, like, amazing.
Right, but he plays with toughness and heart and grit.
Yeah.
And Sam Leavitt does too.
Yeah.
That's what you love about it.
Yeah. And I think his elusiveness too, like, he just doesn't get probably as much credit as he should for how athletic he is and moving. I mean, his spin moves, like, dude can move, and it's not like he's the fastest guy in the field, but he just can make you miss. I would throw Brendan Sorsby in the mix too, in terms of this conversation on who's the most fun quarterback to watch in the Big 12, certainly this year.
Bear Bachmeier.
And I think all three of them have something similar, right? Like, they're not, like, run-first quarterbacks, but they're guys that when they're on the move, like, they're tough.
Yeah, they're fast.
Well, and tough.
Yeah.
Bear Bachmeier is a tough son of a gun.
And he's a freshman.
Yeah.
True freshman.
He is tough to take down. All right, this is Big 12 today. James Westling is back with us tomorrow. We thank Tama Turner for filling in today. We were out in Kansas City last week for Big 12 basketball media days. The basketball season starts next week. And so coming up next, you're going to hear our conversation with Colorado basketball coach Tad Boyle. Tad Boyle, plus you'll hear from the players, Bangkot Dak and Sebastian Rancic, plus J.R. Payne, the Colorado women's basketball coach, later on in the show, as we preview the Big 12 basketball season in Colorado. Men's and women's basketball is next. This is Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo and heard on TuneIn while being watched on Big 12 Studios.
Back here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn. You're watching us via the Big 12 Fast channel. Big 12 Studios, Ari Timken, James Westling. We are joined by Colorado's Tad Boyle. And, Coach, you have churned out players to the NBA. When you do that year over year and you're developing guys, eventually you're going to have a year like last year where you kind of have to reset with a younger bunch, but saw a lot of potential, and it all started to come together towards the very tail end.
Yeah, we were playing our best basketball at the end of the year, which is what you want to do. And to that team's credit last year, they never packed it in. They never gave in. They just kept fighting and fighting. We just came up short a lot. And, some years are like that. But, yeah, to win 2 games in this tournament, especially with this new format, is never easy to do. And I think, the name of the game, to me at least, with college basketball now is retention of your core of your players. And when I look at Bangat Dak, who's here today, I look at Sebastian Rancic, who's here today, and Felix Casares, Elijah Malone, we redshirted a kid named Andrew Crawford. We retained 5 really, really good players off last year's team. And then we brought in some really talented young guys and a couple transfers to add to the mix. And so I think we're going to be much, much better this year. I don't expect to finish 16 out of 16.
Yeah, and with that, how do you balance the need to fulfill a roster with new players versus the need to also have some consistency and continuity amongst your roster?
Yeah, it's a balance. There's no doubt about it. All right, I mean, you have to retain the ones that you need to retain to have that continuity. But you also, when you finish 16th, you probably don't want all of them back either. So
right,
I mean, that's the reality. Like, so you got to upgrade, but you've got to because it's hard to just restock the cupboard every single year and expect to hit it. It's just not going to happen. And you mentioned it, James. We had a year where we had number one. I'll say this: KJ Simpson was supposed to be the point guard on last year's team, but he had a breakout junior year. Yeah, and he left, and we supported him in that. And so I'm certainly not mad at KJ, but
that stuff happens.
Yeah, that stuff happens, and the problem is, it's really hard to replace KJ Simpson in the transfer portal late when you weren't expecting that to happen. Now we've started to say, okay, we got to, for example, right now, we have to plan on the possibility of losing Bangat Dak this year, of losing Sebastian Rancic. You always have that possibility, but going into his junior year, we weren't expecting that from KJ. We were expecting it from Tristan. We were expecting it from Cody Williams. But we were not expecting it from KJ. And to his credit, I mean, he had a breakout junior year. So, last year we took a little step back, but thank goodness it was just 1 year, and now we're going to be better as we move forward.
Well, I remember you specifically mentioning Sebastian and the fact that he was going to be the next one. He has pro NBA potential, the skills, the body. So him and Bangat, who you also brought here today, what have you seen from them this offseason, and what's the outlook for their year?
Yeah, they both had good offseason. Bangat was, unfortunately, had a knee surgery, and so his offseason was muted to some degree in terms of getting his reps and being on the court, with we didn't play with us in Australia, wasn't able to practice, wasn't able to go through workouts. He was doing individual stuff with our strength coach and trainer and, rehabbing, but it was a muted offseason for him. But he's an intelligent player, and he got a little bit bigger and stronger in the weight room. And then Sebastian, he really worked hard this summer. He's expanded his game, a lot more comfortable, a lot more confident. That freshman year, and really last year was a freshman year for Bangat as well, because he didn't get many reps on that 26-win team the year before. So they both had good off seasons, and I think they're going to be big parts of the Colorado Buffalo team this year, without a doubt.
You've had such an incredible run, 15 years in Colorado
going into
now?
year 16, yeah.
And I'm still amazed, how you got into coaching.
Yeah.
It's really an incredible
Yep.
story. And for those that haven't heard, like, so how'd you get into coaching?
Well, I was a finance major at the University of Kansas. I was in the investment business for about 8-9 years, and I was coaching high school basketball on the side. But I had a car accident.
The real money was in commodities.
Yeah,
and
well, I don't know about the real money, but I'd grinded my way up there, and I had pretty good income, pretty good life. But I had a car accident when I was in my late 20s and near fatal. Kind of changed my perspective on life and how quickly it can change and be over, and thank God it wasn't for me that day. But then I had an opportunity to go to the University of Oregon. I worked for Jerry Green, a college teammate of mine. Mark Turgeon was on staff, and I said, I can always go back to this investment stuff if coaching doesn't work. But that was 30 years ago, and here I am today. And I started in Boulder, Colorado, and now I'm back in Boulder, and I'm not going to leave.
And you're originally from Colorado.
I originally grew up in Greeley. I'm a Greeley boy, and born in Pueblo. But Colorado's in my blood.
But was it more like what you learned is that life can be over very quickly, and
Absolutely.
you should be doing something you love as opposed to something that makes you more money?
Yes.
Potentially.
Yes, exactly. And you follow your passion. And we all have kids. We all try to mentor young people. And I always say, if you love what you do, you never have to work a day in your life. And that's what I've been doing for 30 years. Pretty lucky.
Awesome stuff.
Yep.
Tad Boyle,
It helps
Colorado
to have success
basketball
too, by the
coach.
way. That also helps.
Going to NCAA tournaments regularly, putting
what?
guys in the
Coaches
NBA.
get fired if they don't have success.
Yeah, real quickly. Even some that do have success, by the way.
That's true.
You might have one of the tallest teams in college basketball this year. Are you setting a new record for 7-footers? Was that the goal this
No.
offseason?
The ceiling is the roof, James.
We needed depth. That's the one thing we needed, and so we're still recruiting freshmen. The transfer portal's one thing. I know people talk about it all the time, but we've had success. Those NBA players that you alluded to earlier, they weren't like top 100 dudes coming out of high school. I mean, Cody Williams was. Obviously, he was a McDonald's All-American, but the rest of them were really good players. They turned into NBA players through the process of going through their freshman year, sophomore year, junior, senior, getting better. And some of them have gone after 2 years. Alec Burks was 2 years and done. Spencer Dinwiddie was 3 years and done. So, and Derek White was in college for 5 years. So everybody's on their own. But we want to recruit young, talented players and develop them. And we're really excited about a couple of our big guys. I don't know how much they'll help us this year, but I know for a fact if they stick with the process, they will be helping us in years to come.
How do you get them to stay, though? Because that's the issue.
Well,
that's the difficulty.
It is the difficulty. They have to see the progress. They have to see, okay, it's not this year. Is it going to be next year? If it's not next year, can it be the next, and they have to buy into the process. And so many people want to short circuit the process, and they think, oh, the grass is greener over there. I'm not playing here. Oh, I can go play there. And guess what? They may not be playing there. So that
they get there and they realize it's the same process.
It's the same process. It's the same process. And you know what? I'd rather go through that process in Boulder, Colorado on our campus than anywhere else.
That
but
doesn't
that's
hurt.
me. That's me.
That does not hurt.
So
it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, I think you got to continue to pour into them emotionally, and they got to see the results. And that comes with our coaching staff, our strength and conditioning staff, everybody. Academically, we want these kids to graduate. Like, nobody talks about that anymore, do they?
No.
But to me, that's what we're about. That's what this time of year or time of their life is about, and it's incumbent upon us as coaches to, send that message daily.
Yeah.
Now, who's going to be handling the ball most for you guys this year? I know turnovers were a problem last year, and I remember you were telling me, man, we are finding new ways to turn the ball over. I don't know what's going on with this team. So who's going to be the ball handlers?
Well, we got it with the one transfer that we got that is going to be an impact player for us, Barrington Hargress from Riverside. I think he was the 6th leading scorer in the country last year. Can really get buckets. But the thing about Barrington, to me, that makes him special is his ability to make plays not only for himself but for his teammates. So he wanted to become more than just a scoring lead guard. He wanted to be a guy who who really was a true point guard in every sense of the word. And so the nice thing for him is he's now going to be surrounded by some better players, and so he can be a distributor as well as a scorer for us. So he will have the ball in his hands a lot. Sebastian will have the ball in his hands a lot. Bangat is a really skilled guy for 6'11", can pass and dribble and shoot the ball. And then we've got a freshman, 2 freshmen actually, Josiah Sanders, a big, strong guard, and Isaiah Johnson, who's a little bit slighter built, a lefty, but can really, really play the game. I mean, he knows how to play. We went to Australia this year. He led us in scoring in one game. He led us in scoring in our exhibition game last week. So he's going to have an impact as well. So our guard play, much, much better this year, and it needs to be because we lost, a lot of close games last year.
Yeah. One of the things I'm asking every coach is I'm curious perspective on the zone defense. So Tad, what are your thoughts on playing zone?
Zone's a 4-letter word. I don't think you're supposed to say 4-letter words, are you? So that's how.
That's kind of what most have said to me.
That's how
I
feel about it. Now I got some coaches on my staff that don't agree with that, so they're always prodding me and pushing me. The one thing is you have to put the zone in. You have to have a zone in your package because you have to practice against it, right? And so you have to have it in. And look, there's a time and a place for everything. I'm just trying to figure out when that is.
Did you play for Larry Brown?
I did. 2 years for Ted Owens, 2 years for Larry Brown.
Okay, and so how did Ted
two
and
great
Larry,
men.
how would they feel about zone defense?
Coach Owens played it a lot, quite frankly. Coach Brown would always play around with it, but we'd never play it. He was a straight man-to-man guy, and I
mean, is it just the bravado of like mano-a-mano? Is that what it is?
Well, the game was different. I don't want to date myself.
Yeah, no, 100%. The game was different now than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah,
let alone 40.
But let's not talk about years, okay?
He was 30.
Let's just say they didn't have the 3-point line or the shot clock when I played, so it was a different game. The Big 8 was a different league than the Big 12. We had 8 teams instead of 16, but I tell you what, it was a big.
Oh, you mean the conference had the amount of teams that were in it?
Imagine that. Yeah, exactly. And but it was it was a rough and tumble league then, and it's still rough and tumble, but not as much zone.
By the way, Bill Fennelly, the Iowa State women's coach.
Oh yeah.
His first year at Iowa State.
I love Bill.
His first year at Iowa State, they were in the Big 8.
Yeah.
Think
was
about
it
that.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
His first year. It's 30 years ago.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I didn't realize I knew he'd been there a long time.
30.
He's had a lot of
95,
success.
96 was his first year.
Yeah.
Last year of the Big 8. Tad, appreciate your time very much. Thank you.
Always good to be with you guys.
Take care.
Thanks.
Tad Boyle joining us here from Big 12 Basketball Media Days.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. You're listening to us exclusively on TuneIn and watching via Big 12 Studios. We are joined by Colorado men's basketball players Bangat Dak and Sebastian Ranchik. Talking Buffalo hoops. You guys got hot towards the tail end of last year. Made some noise the last couple weeks of the season. How can you use that to kind of propel you into the off season and what's to come this year?
Definitely, it's good momentum. But at the end of the day, last year is last year, this year is this year. We have a completely new group. We're very talented, a lot of competitive individuals, so I'm just really excited to change the narrative from last year.
You said that 100%.
A man, a few words.
So what are you most looking forward to this season?
I'd say playing in a packed out exclusively every game. We want to put on a performance that feels good in the stands. So I just hope that we can get that stadium packed out every night.
Yeah, same thing. Just competing against all these great teams. Obviously there's a lot of great players in the Big 12, and just excited to compete them and go at it every night.
Sebastian, who's this?
This is my puppy that I have adopted 5 minutes ago. You want to say something?
Oh, that is amazing. I think she wants to go back to Boulder.
Yeah, she might.
She likes hiking. I've heard that she is a big fan of mountains, snow. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to my mom first, though. I don't know if she'll like the idea.
Are you a dog person, my man?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
you know what? I feel that.
I'm cool
feel
with being
that.
around, but
not in your crib, right?
Nah.
You don't like the dog hair.
Yeah, and I don't want to just hear barking.
You know what I feel? I feel that, and I promise you, we're not heartless. It's just we love them, but from a distance. Yeah, just like.
Ben Gott, I have never heard a deeper voice than King McClure until I met you, and you sat here with us. You have a sensational voice.
I appreciate that.
Do you use that in the locker room? Are you a vocal guy? Are you a quiet guy?
I talk every day.
You do?
Yeah.
You're an outspoken leader?
Yeah, for sure.
I bet they listen.
Yeah, I think everybody listens when I talk. So on the court, would you say that you're probably the leader or the captain of the team?
I wouldn't just say me myself, but I'd say, yeah, I'm one of the most vocal dudes on the team. But I'd say Sebastian here as well is one of the most vocal guys as well. And Elijah Malone, the other returner, yeah, he's one of the dudes that you hear his voice on the court as well.
So where does vocal leadership stem from? Is it, I mean, me being a player, is it something that you learned growing up, or is it something that had to be taught over time?
I feel like it was something I learned kind of growing up. You know, going into high school, I wasn't that person that was always the strongest, the best, or anything like that. So I found a way to use my voice, kind of get some motivation going. And I felt like the better I got, the more I was able to lead by example. And using my voice was the way I was able to do that. So throughout high school, I think I learned that.
So when King and I call games for various networks, and when I had Colorado last year, he told me we have future pros on this roster. And Colorado was coming off a year where they'd had a guy drafted in like 4 of the last 5 drafts. Was that part of the recruiting pitch for Colorado basketball and Tad Boyle? And did that mean anything to you guys, or does that just speak more about his player development?
I mean, both for sure. I mean, just to see that Coach Boyle and his staff have a record of putting guys into the league consistently was definitely a reason I decided to go to Colorado. And obviously the player development aspect of it, I like what they do with their players on a daily basis and how they develop them over time.
You know, people sleep on Colorado and Coach Boyle.
Agreed.
They really had some pros and put dudes in the first round the past few years. Honestly, I mean, they could compete with a lot of schools in the Big 12 when it comes to NBA player production and development. For you personally, when you look at a guy like Cody Williams, do you see yourself in a guy like that, or what do you take away from him and his path and his journey that you with Coach Boyle?
I mean, I definitely take a little bit away from that because that's someone I shared the court with almost every day my freshman year. But, I mean, just seeing what he went through his freshman year and what it took for him to get to the league, I feel like the development that he went through with Coach Boyle, just trusting what he was saying to him, I feel like I could do the same.
So speaking of development, this offseason is critical for a lot of players. What's an area of your game which you feel like you improved, both you guys?
I feel like I'm an improved jump shooter for sure. Yeah.
I feel I really worked on just scoring efficiently from all 3 levels and getting better at reading the secondary defender.
What's it like playing for Tad Boyle?
You know, it's a little hard because it's not that easy to please him at all times as long as you defend the rebound, but it's pretty good, I'd say, because he pushes you to play your hardest. You know, you can't play for him if you're not in shape or if you're not playing your heart every possession. So that's just something that I got from him.
Before we let you guys go, what is your favorite? Let's get to know you a little bit. We love Boulder. Boulder, Colorado is a special place. What is your favorite spot in town to eat, hang out, whatever?
My favorite spot's Illegal Pete's. I like the burritos there.
At where?
Illegal Pete's.
Illegal Pete's?
Yeah, it's just it's in a better
It's
Chipotle.
called illegal or legal?
Illegal Pete's.
Illegal.
The burritos are so good they're illegal. I'll look that up. I'll look that up. I'm writing it down.
Illegal. I would never forget that. Illegal Pete's.
That one sticks.
Yes,
Yeah, that one does stick. It sounds like it shouldn't be legit, but it is legit.
Okay.
Yeah, my favorite place it's called Hapa Sushi. I like sushi a lot,
sushi.
and so I always go there to eat.
What's it called?
Hapa Sushi.
Hapa Sushi.
Are you a raw sushi guy or like a cooked sushi guy?
Raw.
I'm about to say if you're not eating. I'm about to say if you're eating sushi cooked, I feel like you're not a legitimate sushi eater.
Nah, that's foul.
Okay.
Is that even sushi at that
Yeah, I
point?
mean, you can get a California roll or something like that. I feel like that's something you get.
I love a good California roll.
I feel like that's a
Shout out
James
to
thing.
Sprouts.
That's weak.
Weak. I love it. Hey, your basketball team's not weak. You guys finished the year strong. Could be a major sleeper this year in the Big 12. We appreciate your time, and good luck.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Ben Gottdak and Sebastian Ranchik here at Big 12 Basketball Media Days. You're watching on Big 12 Studios, listening on Big 12 Radio, exclusively on TuneIn.
We are at Big 12 Basketball Media Days here at T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, talking women's basketball with Colorado women's basketball coach J.R. Payne right here on TuneIn and watching us on Big 12 Studios with James Westling and the former Oklahoma State Hooper, Austin Ivan. I am Ari Temkin. J.R. Payne, Colorado's head basketball coach, joining us here. How are you, J.R.?
I'm doing great. Having a good day so far.
Do you feel like you've got the program in a spot in terms of consistently winning, getting to the tournament? Like, is this rolling right now?
Yeah, I mean, we want to be rolling as high and fast as
Sure.
we possibly can. But definitely it took a while to get from the basement of the Pac-12 to, a contender every year. So yeah, we feel pretty good about where we are.
What are the things that go into that? And obviously, shifting conferences is one thing. You probably would have done the same thing on the same time frame, even in the Pac-12.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is just creating a culture and a baseline of just accountability, who we are, how we go about our business, and recruiting the right players that sort of fit that mold.
Coach, you're talking about recruiting. Is this the second straight year you've had 10-plus newcomers?
Yes.
What are the challenges with that?
What aren't the challenges with that? Oh, my goodness. We're actually really excited. Despite having so many new faces this year, it's an incredible group of young women that we have. They're tough, resilient, great teammates, probably the best chemistry, just in the locker room and sort of the feel that we've ever had at Colorado, which is very surprising. But yeah, I mean, lots of challenges, just learning system, getting everybody caught up to speed, you name it. It's definitely a new challenge.
So you guys missed the tournament last year, but you still played in the postseason. And the year before, as a 5 seed, I remember you went up and beat Kansas State in their house in the NCAA tournament. So what was just those couple of pieces that last year's team was maybe missing that you think you have this year?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of years when we did go to the Sweet 16, that 2 years in a row, we had a lot of veterans, and so we had a lot of consistency. People were back. This past season, we were hit with the injury bug, so we played a lot of Big 12 games with missing 4 starters, and we were able to we were a very resilient group, so it was just sort of next woman up and put one foot in front of the other. So, but that was really difficult. This year, knock on wood, we're all going to be healthy, and I think we have great balance on this year's squad. We have post play, we have kids that can shoot, we have good point guard play, and I think we're going to be very good defensively.
Coach, you brought 2 players with you, Jade and Kennedy. I'll give you a second to brag on them and what you like about them and why they fit so well into this program.
Yeah, I mean, both of them are just, first of all, if you spent time with them, you would recognize they're just incredible young women. They're funny and witty and smart and, all the things you want in your players. Also very, very competitive young women. They've both battled a little bit of injuries over their careers, but continue to just really persevere and work hard and put the team's needs, sort of first, and both really grown a lot in their leadership, being 2 of 3 veterans on the team. They've had to do that, and I just think they've done a phenomenal job.
Yeah, what is the next step for Jade? Really enjoyed chatting with her, by the way. She was great. When it comes, I mean, she was 8.5 points a game at Missouri State, and then she gets to Colorado, and she's a double-digit scorer. So what is the next step for her?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for Jade is just continuing to really believe in herself. When she first got to Colorado, all of us were like, whoa, she's even better than we thought she was going to be. And her teammates are like, man, you're so good. You're so this, so that. And she's so humble. She would be like, really? You guys think I'm that good? And so it was really fun last year to see her grow in her confidence. And we just need her to continue to believe that she is that kid. She is the one that we're going to rely on and depend on. And she's capable of dominating really anybody.
It's somebody that's now coached one school at 2 different conferences. What is Big 12 hoops on the women's side? What is it?
I mean, for me, the biggest thing is just that it's really good top to bottom. I think we added some coaching and some players to the conference this past spring that are going to continue to elevate. If we're that good 1 through 16, we're really tough to beat, across the country. So that's one thing that's really different. I think the versatility and the style of play is very different. Like, you can go to West Virginia where you're going to get pressed and trapped, and they're going to try to turn you over 30 times, to Kansas where they're going to walk the ball up the floor and, play a real disciplined style. So it is definitely diverse.
Coach, what's one thing or area you still want your team to work on before game 1? If you had to, pick one thing to say.
Well, this past week, the theme has been, just being more organized, with 10 new players. And actually, we've had a handful of injuries. Nothing big, but a lot of people have been in and out of practice this past month. And so we're just trying to make sure we're all on the same page. And ultimately, we have the talent to beat anybody, but we got to make sure we're all on the same page.
Is there someone emerging as a leader in that role?
Yeah, I would say the two that are here today are doing a great job. Kennedy and Jade are, they're the veterans. They're the ones that have played. They're the ones that know, how it should look and feel, and they're doing a great job there.
All right, Coach, we've now come to the personality portion of the interview.
Okay.
So you wake up in the morning. It's a beautiful morning in Boulder, Colorado. What is the first app that you open on your phone?
Well, I have to walk the dog at 6 in the morning, so I'm opening the weather app to see how many layers of clothing I need, depending on the temperature.
Okay. Checking it the night before or just morning up?
No, just morning up, because things can change,
Things change.
very quickly.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, we have different jackets depending on,
100%, yeah.
Yep, we get it.
Thanks, JR. Good luck this year.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Colorado women's basketball coach JR Payne joining us here from Big 12 Media Days on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios. Big 12 Radio, we are live at Big 12 Media Days on the women's basketball side here at T-Mobile Center. Heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios, talking Colorado women's basketball along with James Westling. I am Ari Temkin, and we're talking with Kennedy Sanders and Jade Masagayo from Colorado. What's going on? How are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Doing very well, thank you. All right, so what's exciting for you guys about the start of this season?
I just think the group of people that we have, we've talked about it a lot, but we're all very close. Obviously, we have a brand new team. We have 3 returners, but we all hang out off the court, on the court, and our chemistry has just been great so far.
Yeah, just to add on to that, pretty much the same stuff. It's a new team this year once again, but it's awesome because we get to learn about a lot of different people and all that type of stuff and gain new relationships. And yeah, it's been great. We got great chemistry. Like Ken said, we're always hanging out, and we have really strong bonds already. Only a couple months in, so it's been great.
Now you guys were gritty last year. You guys had a good basketball team, but Jade, what happened right in here? You're either blowing people out or you're getting beat by 30. You're winning by 30 and then you're losing by 30.
Dude,
so
James
what?
Is not
The middle part of the season, you guys were either winning really big,
right?
Or so how do you get to the point where those losses are either closer or you're getting more of those big wins and kind of level up another level in the Big 12?
I mean, yeah, I feel like that really it comes to a lot of our defensive plays and all that type of stuff. And I feel like this year we have a much better defensive group. Des Wooten, we got Ziana Walker and all that type of stuff. And I just feel like we're going to be, do better.
Yeah, definitely just being consistent, both at practice and in our games and everything, just being confident in our games, our preparation.
What's it like to play for JR?
It's amazing. I wouldn't want to play for any other coach, honestly. She's great. She's easy to talk to. You can talk to her about anything, and she cares about us as actual people, which is really important.
Yeah, I would say the exact same thing. I mean, she really is a genuine human being, and I've never met a coach like her in my entire life. And I'm so blessed to be, coached under her and, have the relationship that I do with her. So I love JR to death. Love that girl.
Is playing in the altitude, is that a real thing in Boulder? Do you feel like you have a home court advantage because of the altitude? And can you catch your breath better when you go on the road?
Definitely. We've been telling our players a lot just to take their time with it. Obviously, you get used to it to an extent, but even coming back from some of our games when we play at lower elevation, coming back, that first practice back is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard?
Definitely.
Oh, yeah, because you're coming back.
Yes.
But when you go to places and there's no altitude, do you get on the floor and you're like, I feel like I can run forever?
Yeah, we're moving.
Yes, for sure. Just a lot lighter, not heavy,
Okay.
Easier to breathe.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I don't know how to follow up with that one. How's your breathing? You breathe well?
Follow up. How's your breathing?
How's the breathing going? Getting enough air, oxygen?
Are you getting enough?
What do you guys like to do off the floor?
Man, we be hanging out at the house all the time, just hanging out, watching movies, being outside.
What movies?
Man, we be watching some scary movies. We be watching funny movies like what did we watch? Was it Ride Along 2 or something like that?
Yeah.
But yeah, we just went to a John Summit concert the other day with the team, so it was pretty fun. go to the mountains. We just painted some pumpkins too as a team. So we're always doing stuff together.
All right, what was your theme for your painted pumpkin?
Okay, so basically what we did was we had a partner, and basically we had to paint something that kind of related to that partner. And I had AD and Ayo Dutat, and she's from France, so I just painted a little French flag or whatever, and I put a little wee under there, real nice. real nice.
Wee.
Yeah, wee.
Vivi. So what did she do for you?
Man, she painted the pumpkin brown. She said it was a brown skin pumpkin. And she just put she put a cowboy hat, Texas stuff, my number. But mind you, the brown skin is what really just topped it off. She ate.
There it is. That's next level. Well, Ari's very modern, hip, cool, all those things. So he knows all the slang terms.
Okay.
But as we get to know you here, what's a phrase or word that you feel like you overuse in conversation? I have like 1,000 of them.
Like when you say 1,000%
When I say
all the time?
1,000% all the time,
Yeah.
it's one of my favorites. I say absolutely a lot. I don't.
Well, if something's 1,000%, then it's absolute for sure.
It's absolutely 1,000%.
What you got, Ken?
I feel like I just say "ope" a lot, and everyone looks at
Oh.
me crazy when I say that.
Like that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Ope.
What does it mean?
I don't know. I've always grown up saying it.
Like
Apparently, it's a Minnesota thing.
Like
so.
instead of saying sorry, you just
Wait, the other
Yes.
one, there's some weird Minnesota ones. Like instead of slivers, there's splinter.
Splinters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or no, it's sliver. I forget it's the other one way or the other. There's just some weird. Also, duck, gray goose, gray duck,
Duck, gray duck.
gray goose. That would be weird.
Great.
But no, it's duck, goose. But in Minnesota, it's duck,
gray
gray,
duck.
gray duck.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, we like to make up our own.
That's a weird one. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just the two that came to mind. What did you paint your pumpkin?
Mine wasn't as funny as hers, but I had JoJo on our team, so I painted a 4 and like a Nike sign and some music notes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then what did they do for yours?
She painted a pumpkin pink because that's my favorite color, and she drew a smiley face in my number.
Real cute, real simple.
Yes.
Come on now.
Not a brown skin pumpkin.
No.
Like, that is amazing. Well, good luck this year to both of you, and appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
you guys.